Hello everyone and welcome to Season 3 of the Rewatch Podcast presented by the Terrible Video Gamers Club. I'm your host, Tyler Schatz, who's not a cop, Mia. Joining me for this fine recording session is one Stephen Howard.
Who might be a cop, but we don't really know, and also is not as good looking as Paul Walker, so probably is not a cop.
Definitely not. Amanda Howard.
Who thought that sometimes that I don't plan ahead, but at least I go more than a quarter mile at a time.
One Josh Cox.
Yeah. I was working shopping one earlier, and then it all just disappeared right now.
One Nick Castillo.
I'm just here for the tuna on white, no crust.
All right. And last but certainly never ever least, one Gary Delaney.
Jesse, what are you thinking? I don't know. I panicked. I'm sorry. I'm scared. I don't know what I'm doing. Will you please help me?
Were we supposed to watch the anime version? Because this is what...
What the fuck just happened?
Like
I'm so
I
confused.
tried to do a deep Vin Diesel voice, and I sucked. And I was like, well, I have to go somewhere from here. So I was like, well, I guess I'm
Kristen
just
Bale
going to...
Batman.
Gender swapped the Jessie character there too.
Yes.
As an anime
Huge.
princess.
What? Yeah. Yes.
All right. Well, if you can't tell out there what we're talking about here, we are here to discuss the first movie, The Fast and the Furious, directed by Rob Cohen, released in 2001. Synopsis off of IMDb reads: Los Angeles police officer Brian O'Connor must decide where his loyalties really lies when he becomes enamored with the street racing world. He has been sent undercover to end it. That's a sentence there for sure.
It's a lot of a sentence.
One of the sentences of all time.
It is one of the sentences of all times for sure. I want to just pull up here too to talk a little bit about the director here, Rob Cohen. So far, for the most part, I'm just kind of looking over his IMDb stuff here. He had a director credit on a couple episodes of Miami Vice. It looks like he did Dragonheart, Daylight, the Sylvester Stallone classic, The Fast and the Furious, and then following up with this, he did Triple X with Vin Diesel. So. And then also, too, he did the best Mummy movie, The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Top tier quality there for sure.
I've never heard of that one in my life.
Yeah, you're better off for that one.
Mummy Rewatch Podcast.
Oh, God.
I mean, if we want to
No,
watch those
thank you.
first two Brendan Fraser movies, hell yeah, I'm down for that. But
Those are the only two that exist.
true. That third one's just a fever dream.
Is there a fourth one, or is that in my head?
There's the remake
There's a
they
Scorpion
did with...
King movie.
Well, there's the remake relaunch they did with the Tom Cruise, where they were trying to start that dark universe there.
Oh, yeah.
See, the fact that you guys couldn't give a straight yes or no answer, that's always a good sign.
Welcome to Hollywood and movie naming
I
conventions.
consider the Scorpion King to be a spiritual successor to The Mummy Returns.
Well, the Scorpion King is a
You-
prequel to the Mummy series.
You and only The Rock.
Oh, boy.
Anyways, we're not here to talk about the Mummy. We're here to talk about the fine Fast and the Furious film. So I guess kind of just like the way we did it when we did the Evangelion movie there, we kind of just are going to go through the movies somewhat, just kind of touching on some of the points throughout the film there. I want to start off with just the hot banger that is the CGI text that blasts on the screen there right away. It's just like, wow, this is somebody in 2001 definitely had a dream with what they were doing with this stuff.
It was some sort of dream, at least.
It really struck me just how dated it looked from starting it off and even down to like the color filters once we first finally see the real world. And yeah.
The entire movie struck me as just so dated. It was, maybe this is a kind of an overarching thing, but it starts right off the beginning with the CGI that you're talking about, and just rolls through, and I'm like, oh my, I feel like I'm watching a B movie from, I don't know, just a couple years ago or something. This is not Maybe I'm just spoiled from new stuff, but this is not high quality.
Well, it's
24 years old.
This is what B movies inspire to be.
It
Nowadays,
feels like it.
I don't think we were 5 minutes in, and Steven goes, "Oh my gosh, these are 2001 graphics."
even that
And he
too,
was
like
right.
But
age-wise, it rolls into the back of that truck there that it pans back of all of this old, outdated technology in there, like these old
Yep.
CRT TVs with DVD players and VHS players in them, DVD players, all of that stuff. It's just like, wow, what a old relic of history there.
And I genuinely couldn't accept the fact that this was going to be about stealing DVD players. Like, I turned to Amanda and I go, "There's no way they're stealing DVD players. There's got to be cocaine or like, I don't know, some sort of drug, heroin in those TV boxes." And there's absolutely no way that this is literally just about stealing CRT TVs with VHS players built into them. Right?
Conspiracy theory .001.
Hold on,
Oh, no.
This
Amanda
isn't even
has to find-
mine. Steve
I wasn't ready.
Steven
It's fine.
dropped this like theory before the podcast, and I was like, Steven, I'm deducting your conspiracy theory point. Like, it's in beta testing. You dropped like the best conspiracy theory before we even started podcasting.
Well, we got to make sure to notate that in the Conspiracy Theories channel there, so that way, at the end of all of this, we can go back and go, this is the dumbest conspiracy theory, followed by this one.
By the way, so for the quality of the show, by the way, I did just look up 2001 movies that also released. Harry Potter, the first one, released in 2001. And I just exited out of them. But it's like Shrek released in 2001.
So I did a similar thing, but I was looking at budget specifically as well. So,
Oh,
It's
what
like
is the
Harry
budget?
Potter
I don't
and
know
the
what the budget movie for this movie is.
so I went down to where Fast and the Furious was. It was the 25th highest box office in 2001. Above it was Lara Croft Tomb Raider, which had a budget of $115 million. Below it was AI, artificial intelligence,
Well, that was
with
great.
$90 to $100 million. The Fast and the Furious, $38 million.
Yep.
So it was a budget movie by all standards.
An
You know,
opening
it's-
All
weekend.
of the extras are just people for like they met. Like no one, they didn't pay any extras in this movie.
And like
I
the box office information on IMDb also says the $38 million. Yep. Opening weekend, it made $40 million. Gross in the US and Canada ended up being $144 million. Gross worldwide was $207 million. So it made its money back for sure. Of course, Hollywood math, maybe not, but
I do feel obligated to point out, because Steve and I watched the first half of this movie together. When he says he could not get over the fact about the TVDs and VHS players, guys, like, I had to write down Steven freaking out because it's TVs and VHS players. He could not get over it. He mentioned it numerous
There was
times.
no reason for it to be
during-
TVs. I was so just
He's
didn't
still
make sense.
incensed.
it did not make sense.
I made a note in the like group chat that I was only 7 seconds into the movie and I already started pausing because I wanted to go look up serial numbers for all of these like all these random old CRT TVs. And like the first one has antennas, like a little CRT TV with a VCR player and like little bunny ear antennas. I was like, this is something.
That's everything you need then. Yeah.
yeah. And the thing that's very hard to remember is like DVD players and stuff were expensive when they first came out too. Like we now think a DVD player for $20 is almost too much money, but that adds a little weight to it, a time and a place there again of like this was probably expensive technology at the time, but viewed through the 2025 lens, it's like, yeah, if you're paying $10 for a DVD player, you're overpaying. They're basically just giving
Also,
those
like,
away.
I think this is probably in the heyday of those like TV VCR combos. Like VCRs, actually the price came down quite a bit, but like I definitely say that this was the era of like Walmart $5 bin VHS tapes before it was the Walmart $5 bin like DVD bin of doom.
Mm-hmm. So after the movie moves off the opening scene there where we have some guy making a phone call about a package leaving the port there, we go into the at-night heist there that happens where 3 black Civics hijack the truck that is full of these DVDs and VHS players. And Steven is already questioning life again.
I just don't understand. Like, this was as this is happening, I'm having flash forwards to the Dark Knight when they're firing that gun, breaking out the window, and I'm sitting there going to Amanda, well, the trucker's just going to ram the car. If they're firing things, he's going to ram the car, right? And it's turned into an Anakin meme. He'll ram the car, right? And you're just like, what is going on here? This guy just watching like, oh, this is weird. This is a strange thing to have happen to my car. This was legitimately the idea that you came up with, not have 2 cars on either side, a car in front, and slow the car in front down so that the truck slows down with you, and then have someone pull out like a fucking pistol on the side and go, hey, pull the fuck over. No. We are going to fire a harpoon through their window, break open the window, fire a second harpoon into their chair. We are then going to shimmy down a metal line into the truck, have a fist fight with a trucker, and then... Mission accomplished, guys. Mission accomplished.
It's much more
Ladies and
intense.
gentlemen, he didn't even take notes.
Also, I want to point out, like, I didn't even think about the fucking harpoon guns. Like, that you would have to buy the ammunition for a harpoon gun, and that wouldn't be the red flag of, like, well, I wonder who's doing this. Well, who's been buying a lot of harpoon guns?
Oh, there's a lot of that. I had a couple notes on that too. Like, if you just follow the money trail with the amounts that these random people are spending, I know it's South LA, but I had a couple times I was like, wouldn't that give it away? Harpoon gun delivered to one Dominic Toretto. Huh. I wonder if he's the one using the harpoon guns.
Sure, they have a fence. They didn't go into the larger money scheme of how they fence all of the electronics.
The one Johnny Tran guy had a fence that we find out later.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Trade you a bunch of DVD players for like 3 harpoons.
Exactly.
Straight up. No questions asked. We got a system. It ain't broke, so we ain't fixing it. We need 3 harpoons every night.
Yep. Exactly. And then we get go ahead.
I'll say the only comment I had on the cars question, then you can jump to whatever next or whoever has to talk about it, is that in one scene you see those cars shimming for position, and then the one slides under. And the very next scene, the car is out, and as the cars are driving away with now they own the truck, it's clearly too tall to slide under the side of the truck. Like, there was no follow-up after raising the truck or trying to show that the car is much lower. It's just for that one scene, and then every other shot is blatantly the hood of the car is clearly taller than the bottom of the truck trailer.
Nick, there are electric hydraulics. They can probably lower their vehicle and slide under.
Well, the movie doesn't show
I'm
us
sure
that.
that's exactly what happened, Gary.
Obviously.
Then we get introduced
You have to believe. You have a suspension of disbelief, Nick.
Anyways, moving on, we then get introduced to the young Brian O'Connor driving his Eclipse out in the parking lot of some stadium.
I'm not familiar with any Brian O'Connor. I meet Brian Spillner at this point in the movie.
My apologies here.
I quote as this guy drives onto the scene, Steven, oh, that's Paul Walker. That must be Paul Walker. I can tell because he's the white guy. Me. I can tell that's Paul Walker. You can tell because he's hot. These are the 2 conflicting viewpoints we have.
Yeah.
My favorite thing here is the shifting gears. This is going to come up a lot when we talk about these movies here, is the constant gear shifting they do just to show that they're going faster. It's just got to constantly keep shifting gears.
Well, I'll just say that, when this guy, Amanda's right, when this guy shows up, and you guys even just said his name, and I don't remember this guy's name. It's Brian something or another. I don't care. It's Paul Walker, and so I'm calling him Paul Walker throughout the entire movie. But it's just, he looked so stereotypical 2001 with the white, cool hair, frosted tips. He could be out of a boy band, and I'm just looking at him, and I go, this is him, right? And Amanda goes, everyone had a crush on him back then. Did they, Amanda? Did everyone have a crush on him back then?
Yeah, that
You're gonna
is.
look at those eyes and tell me you don't.
I hadn't even seen the movie, so I want to hear about that. I still knew this without seeing the movie.
Yep.
I did want to tell you guys that there was some negotiation before this movie was watched by Steven and I over how we were going to watch it, if we were going to watch it together, and how would we do me taking notes and pausing. So there's a couple different options. I told Steven I could either use a notepad, we could not pause at all, and we'll find out what happens. Or I said, I could buy you something and you say nothing about the pauses. And Steven looked at me and said, what would you buy me?
I'm an easy person to bribe. It's okay.
I started off small because I was like, well, like a coffee, and he was like, considered. Then I was like, I'll let you buy whatever you want for our daughter with no, like, you're just allowed free reign. And he sat there and thought about that for a good minute or two, and then he goes, no, I can buy her a toy. I don't need your permission.
Mhm.
We ended up settling that I was supposed to play basketball with him without, very willingly, enthusiastically. I could pause the movie while being reasonable to not pause every 3 minutes. That was the deal. This got thrown out the window when he walked past a car that he wanted to get our daughter in a store. So I didn't even have to play basketball. He bought her the car. I was off the hook, and I got to take my notes.
How many pauses did she have, Steven?
It wasn't actually that many because we were watching it on my computer, and she asked maybe to pause 3 times. But I will note, we only were able to watch this movie for half an hour together. And then she had to go to work, and we were doing other stuff, and we never actually got to finish it together. So it was 3 times in 30 minutes.
Yes, I think it worked out really well. The other thing I found out was, after going to work the exact same day, is my parents stopped by to help us with something or other. And I'm not there, I'm at work, so they're seeing Steven and my daughter. Turns out my dad is a huge Fast and Furious fan.
Yes.
I did not know this.
So this is the conversation that happens. Her dad shows up, and I go, "Oh yeah, we're making small talk and blah blah blah." And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing today?" "Oh, we were watching Fast and Furious earlier today." And he goes, "Oh yeah, which one are you on?" I'm like, "Well, I've never actually seen any of them." And her dad is a little up there. I mean, he's an average. We're in our 30s, so he's about double that. So it's a normal dad range, but kind of the 60s era. But the point being is, I did not expect the conversation to go, "Oh yeah, which one? Oh, I haven't seen them all before." And he looks at me and goes, "Really? You haven't seen them all?" I'm like, "No. What is there something I'm missing here?" And he's
missing out on life.
I'm really waiting for that new 10th one to come out, and then but it's really, I can't stop this. The story with the Paul Walker is really the blah 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 blah. And he's like, "Oh my God, he knows the entire movie, A, B, and C. He doesn't even need to look at notes." Amanda and I are out of our depth. Her dad is just the Fast and Furious expert, and he had to stop talking because I'm like, "Okay, so we're actually doing a podcast," and he's like, "Oh, okay, so you're gonna both be watching that, and well, you tell me when you're done with those, and we'll talk about it." I'm like, "Deal, man. All right."
I come home, Steven fills me in, and I'm like, wait, my dad's seen them? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I grew up with this band. Like, what do you mean? I've never seen these on the shelf. Like, I have watched all sorts of other science fiction movies because of him, but I have never, ever realized he even has seen the movies, let alone liked them. And he likes them enough to know all these details. And we eager for the next one. I'm confused. But
they were syndicated for a little bit, like that TBS TNT era. I feel like they probably were syndicated a couple times. They'd air, TV edits of these movies, which aren't even really that raunchy.
Oh goodness.
So getting back to the movie then here, which we're here to discuss.
Back to what we were fucking talking about, guys.
We got young Brian Spillner there, basically in the Toretto grocery shop / C-store, maybe, eating his tuna sandwich on white, when Dom's crew shows up there, and we get introduced to some hard early 2000s fashion there and everything. Hard
Yeah.
fashion. Gary, go ahead.
So I put it down on my list of things I didn't remember or notice. Is that I didn't know that Dom's day job was as like a grocery store, convenience store manager. Like that's his day job. Like completely missed that because I just focused on the cars. I assumed he owned an auto body shop too, but like he owns a grocery store. Like never ever dropped in.
Toretto's
thought
Market
Mia
and
was a
Cafe
waitress.
is what it's called.
Yeah. I had that written down too. My question was where does the money come from these two places? And then I have a little bit of a thought, not quite full-blown Gary conspiracy theory, but which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is the grocery store a front for the money they make off of selling stuff so they seem nice and normal folks? Or did they originally have this family-owned grocery store and he just started dabbling in cars and then needed a business on the side to help support it? What came first? Was his dream to one day own a grocery store, and now with all this money he has this grocery store for Mia to work at? Or he gave up on the parents' idea of owning this grocery store? Because you don't hear it mentioned after it's introduced. Back to you, Gary.
His dad was a minor league circuit race car driver. So I assumed that the auto body shop and all of that came with running a circuit race car. And then I assume conspiracy theory that when he died, he got a wrongful death insurance, and that's how they bought a grocery store.
I think the grocery store was
I
there
don't doubt
first.
it.
But
That makes sense. But again, why buy the grocery store? Like, if you get a wrongful death suit and you love racing cars in the junior circuit, why not just stop with like the car ownership and
What
the
Toretto, maybe she has a dream. Maybe
Okay,
maybe
hold
that
on.
diner
Was
a dream.
Wait,
Okay,
Gary,
Steven,
wait.
Steven, there you go. Sorry.
What is Mia's last name?
Toretto.
Toretto. What is the name of the grocery store?
Toretto Market and Cafe.
Toretto. It is not Dom's marketing store. We're not talking about Dom. It could be Mia. It's Mia's. She's the one at the counter. She's the one that has to get Dom to do anything. So
So
Do you think she got the front money and bought a grocery store?
my own headcanon, just to put everything in perspective, then, is the dad dies, they get this wrongful death suit, and Dom says, I want to work on cars, but Mia says, I want to own a grocery store. So then between the two of them, they split the money, and that's where they get it from.
How about this? It's a family store, and the garage is a family thing as well. There, mom and dad there run both of them, or maybe the store is inherited from grandma and grandpa from down the line. Their mom worked at it too, so Mia works at it, or whatever.
Maybe
Both could be in the family at the same time. Remember, this is the early days where stuff was cheaper than it is now.
This is true. I did have one note on that note, since we're talking family. Where are all these young kids' parents? They're supposed to be what, just out of high school, maybe early college?
They're 20-ish.
20-somethings. 20-somethings.
I thought they were like even older than that almost.
Okay, all right. Well, again, just because we're talking like maybe the mom is still there, we never hear his mom mentioned, and so
I didn't think his mom was around personally.
Yeah, maybe there is no mom in the scene. I don't know. I mean, I know it's all about family. Maybe there's no mom, and so that was just my question. My own morbid curiosity. I had, where did the sandwich shop come from? That had completely lost from my memory, just because I haven't seen this movie in for so long. Okay, good stuff.
And then, speaking of it being an early 2000 movies, we get the other F word dropped in here in the fight that breaks out between Brian and oh god, what's Vince, right? That's the
I also had it noted of like a very dated movie where a homophobic slur is shouted at somebody. Like, as somebody who lived through that life, those words being used is very much a sign of the times.
But yeah, it was
middle school language.
Oh yes, it was definitely
middle
something
school language. I didn't hear that in elementary school.
Mean as schoolyard children.
God, not this conversation again.
God damn it! Just anyway.
But it was definitely like a quick reminder of like, oh yeah, that's right. This is an old movie here. Well,
yeah,
old,
definitely.
Goodness sakes.
But after the fight breaks out and everything gets broken up, we cut to real quickly. Brian's at his other job there, basically a mod shop there. I guess I don't know what you'd quite call it there, but I love the line he throws out there. I need NOS. So then Steven finally gets to learn what NOS is there. Did you have any idea at this point in time, Steven, or did it not come until they actually were racing what NOS actually is?
No, I knew what NOS was because I've played racing games before,
Okay.
and so like I knew it was something that made your car go, and I know it's something that I inhaled my freshman year of college, and so I knew it was some sort of
Those are two different things.
Very different things.
I don't know what you're talking about, but no, I did know what NOS was. I did not know that you had special buttons on your things that look like fighter pilot missile launchers to, engage NOS.
Gotta get your shot.
It's
there.
just basically an additional fuel injector, isn't it? Like it just injects into the
Fuel?
fire cylinder.
I did write down several times on this. Does anybody really understand the bullshit car references in this? Where like stuff seems like, oh, that's awesome. It makes the pistons fire faster, and there's fire in his engine. Whoa, that's cool. It's like when they're mentioning things under the hood, and I'm not a huge car guy. I love that and I appreciate that. But there are a couple times I'm like, okay, how much of this is bullshit? They're just trying to like make it sound really cool and like.
Well, obviously, if you
100%
just
believe
reverse...
that those are real words and real terms.
Okay, but there's
and
also
that
real words.
Companies would pay to get their product placement in like a 30-second line of the movie.
Oh, of course.
I am not sure that happened in this movie. I think that to borrow, Gary, your phrase or your idea from our last thing, it was a bunch of jargon, just techno jargon thrown at us. And I don't think much of it actually mattered or meant anything. I think that they were reversing the polarity so that the pistons could spray fuel faster, and that's what was happening.
Not at all how a car works. I at least know that part. But
I feel like there is a certain point where they just like buzz to like, and it's going to go over 90% of the people's heads. But I got to imagine that they spent a lot of filming around real like car nuts that would actually care that some of this is, even if you have a made up brand, that some of the science is at least sort of accurate.
I was going to say at some point in time before this podcast started, I ran out of time to do it. I was going to kind of look up to kind of figure out, okay, how does NOS actually work in the car there? But I did not do that there.
I Googled it.
I think it's an accelerant. It makes it just burn faster. So
NOS.
So first you drift behind a car in front of you.
By injecting nitrous oxide that breaks down and releases oxygen, allowing more fuel to be burned and producing more power.
Ha ha ha. That's also why I could see sounds when I drank enough NOS in my freshman year of college.
Because of the power.
It was.
Yes.
But then we get cut to basically Brian showing up to the big car meetup there, which these first few movies do a great job, I think, of this is kind of what it seemed like they were going for these first few movies, at least, of just kind of shining that spotlight on this kind of car culture almost, of this tuner culture, I think is probably what you would more call it as, of just these people take these cars, Hondas, Toyotas, and all of that stuff, soup them up to look like this, sound like this, and everything like that, and people get together in these meets and just kind of look at each other's cars and celebrate how it's going and everything. Obviously, this involves a race too as well, but
I had one comment when they show all the cars coming in and they're trying to look all cool and you see everybody walking around. Also, all the girls have really short skirts. It's like horribly inappropriate. The background music is playing and they're playing like all the rap songs and whatnot. One of the rap songs is the theme song for Fast and Furious. And then the rapper is saying, Fast and Furious. And I was like, you're breaking the fourth wall.
Ja Rule, who is also in this scene.
In the movie.
Yep.
The rapper in the movie who's playing a character in the movie is in the background track singing about the movie.
I think they do a little Limp Bizkit here as well, too.
Oh, God, unfortunately.
Yes.
Classic jams.
But what I will say is a couple different things here. Number one, this movie is literally just about fast cars and fast women. That's it. So
Fast
I don't know
cars.
why you. I don't know about that, but
No comment.
it's So I was not surprised to see all the women in miniskirts and you feel this, baby. If you win, you get one of these afterwards too. Blah blah blah. It's fast cars, fast women, and that's what the movie's about. So yeah, I mean that's what it is. My other comment. So two other comments here. Oh, did you have something on that?
No, you're good.
I did.
Okay.
On fast cars and fast women. The two main characters, the gal who plays Mia and the gal who plays Letty, in the special features, Letty actually talks very extensively that like she thinks this is really a movie about female empowerment because later on she's driving and she's showing up the guys. She talks about like meeting actual street racers who were women who could hold their own. So in the background, maybe it wasn't as portrayed, but the characters, some of the characters actually, the actors actually thought that they were bringing some level of empowerment to the characters. Also, they say in the special features that they didn't wardrobe these people. These are extras that this is their outfits. These are the lives they live. Like, they're not being paid. They're just there, and that's what they decided to wear.
They weren't told to come dressed like that? They told just come dressed normally, or? Gary?
That's what they wear. I assume that's what they wear to the office.
So my other two things on here were when Paul Walker shows up, I really genuinely honestly thought he was going to get his ass kicked when people are walking up. What do you have under the hood? Oh, well, you'll see. And then the second guy walks up. Yeah, well, what are you going to see? And it's like, oh, I've seen this before. This is how you you joke with a guy who has no idea what he's doing before you kick his ass. And so that's what I was expecting to happen. Didn't happen, but was expecting that. And the third thing, and this is just a random little thing, I wish they had let the pizza guy race. Don't turn him away. Send him in. Send him in for the fight.
So
product placement.
So funny thing too is the pizza guy is the actual director of the movie.
Oh, is he?
It's his cameo for the movie.
That's nice. I wrote down Street Racers making your Pizza Hut late since 2001. I had a comment on Monica that you had mentioned, the gal who was very fast. That I think she's the village bicycle, because when Dom drives up and gets out of his vehicle, he starts saying hello to some of the girls there, and he calls Monica by name. That's one of the names in that scene. And she's like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's talking to him, and then Letty comes up and says, "I smell skanks. Get out of here before I leave tire tracks up your ass." And then they leave. But like, she knows Dom, and Dom is playful with her, and then she's talking to Edwin's character, Ja Rule. And then, yeah, at the end of the race, like, still walks off by herself. So I don't think that Monica's not necessarily, a girl of character. She might be someone who gets around anyways. I'm a little on Steven's side with that one.
All right, going into that dark circle there too, huh?
I'll just say, as there's not a single woman in this movie who has a name who is not a love interest or a, shall I say, a visual figure, I'm not sure this is very empowering.
I didn't see Gary's special features. I didn't get that deep into it, so I'll let him defend his own assertions.
I could actually see it a little bit both ways, honestly, because yeah, 100% when it panned over everyone, I was like, great, that's what we're doing. But I did not think it was a movie about fast women at all, and I actually did like that they made both Mia and Letty very capable people who could drive, because as someone who has gotten comments about women drivers, yeah, it was actually nice to see that they very clearly did not make that.
Jeez.
I don't know who would say such things.
Actually, not me. Are you kidding me?
Is not helping you.
We have several friends who make those jokes. It's not me.
I did have one other thing too in that scene before we get to after the race. I mentioned again when they talk about under the hood for Brian's vehicles, like these rattling off all the things of what he has, and it's like, does anyone understand that jargon? And then This is kind of an aside for Tyler. I thought that Vince had definite porch dick vibes the whole movie. Just kind of creeping in the side there on everything Brian does.
That's a Walking Dead reference for everyone.
A Walking Dead reference, porch dick vibes. And also, I wanted to highlight Noel Guglielmi, who's the character who plays Hector, as the most typecast character ever. I have heard this reference a couple times before. The guy who plays Hector has been cast as a Southern Los Angeles gangster named Hector in like 8 different movies.
Yeah.
Because he
goddamn right.
Because he looks like a Hector.
That's a thing?
That's a thing. You look up his IMDb. Yeah, Noel Guglielmi. Hopefully I'm saying it right. He's like played Hector in 8 or 9 different movies.
Nice.
Oh.
Go ahead, Gary.
I guess obviously their outfits are a little questionable, but they're there because they probably enjoy watching street racing, or their boyfriend's there. Like, I don't know. It's their decision to date guys like that, so that's where they're at on a Friday night. I don't think it's yeah.
Are you saying their
It's not
lifestyle
a great
is not
empowering outfit, but like people have gone to their significant other's shit in the attire required and regretted it afterwards. So
what's your thing again after work? What's the dress attire? Oh, your shortest skirt possible. Yeah, that's the racing attire. Sorry.
A little bit of ass hanging out, if at all
I'll be wearing
possible.
my torn jeans and fishnet shirt. So
For speed,
just
less clothing, less drag.
Exactly.
There you go.
Did you have more on the race, Tyler, or are you going to talk about something else? Or
nothing really specific on the race there.
And after, I'll do.
One thing I did like is like the through engine shot that they do basically of Brian taking off there, and they kind of do that like CGI through the engine shot of like all the stuff going on in the engine. I think it's obviously a dated looking thing there, but I still think it's kind of cool of just that the mechanics of everything. And Brian telling himself, I'm gonna win, because he's racing for his pink slip for his car. Go ahead, Nick.
So this was part of my comment too. Is I think Brian is a terrible racer.
Yeah,
I wrote down on here. Brian is. So my note is Brian is racing for respect? ? But why? To prove he can really race? He can't. The first time we're introduced to him, he's practicing driving and he spins out because he can't control the vehicle and goes, damn it. Like he's not a good racer. And then when they pull up to the line, he goes past the start going, 5 miles per hour? And everybody gives him the side eye. It's like, dude, get it together. He's trying to prove that he's this great racer. He's not. He drives past the starting line. He seems visibly rattled and he has to talk himself up behind the wheel saying, I'm going to win. You're going to win. Like so I wrote several other comments that kind of tie back to that going, terrible Brian is not a good race car driver.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a counterpoint to that I didn't realize was going to be a counterpoint to that, but I was going to bring up something in the same vein, and that's I have no idea why he's even racing for his pink slip against against what's his name, Vin Diesel, because if he wins, what's he going to do? He's not going to get into the Toretto gang at that point. Yeah, you get a new car, and what is he going to do? Turn it over to the FBI? So my conspiracy theory here is that he actually was doing this drive, and he was doing all the psych himself out, all the look really stupid thing as a show. He's actually a really good racer, and he just was basically making everyone think, oh, this guy's an idiot.
I have both sides of that. I'll let it keep playing out here as we get through the rest of the scene, but is he a terrible driver or is he the masterclass undercover cop?
I just pointed out that it was a $2,000 buy-in, and he bet the pink slips on a vehicle plus $10,000 in additions to it. So however much the base price of that vehicle is, maybe $3,000, and then he put $10,000 into it. So like, Also, yes, I was like thinking of the conspiracy theory, and Steven jumped in line for me. Like he's being fronted by the FBI, and the FBI can't spare another $2,000 like to front him in the race. Like I would think you just send him there with like $5,000 to bet. Like
I looked it up. I caught it later because I had the same note about the cost of the cars, and then later after the scene, I'm jumping ahead just a little bit here. The detective talking to him goes, "That was an $80,000 car, son." So $80,000 was the cost he bet for the vehicle, which I attribute mostly to it being 20 years ago. That's why that car was only $80,000.
Mm-hmm. So then we get to the end of the race there, and Brian the whole time is just like, "This is awesome." Like he's just had such a big thrill ride rush there.
Out of his depth.
He walks up to Vin Diesel and like, "I almost had you," and we get the great line there that kind of permeated into pop culture a little bit there of like, "Ask any racer, any real racer. Doesn't matter if it's an inch or a mile. Winning is winning." So, Gary, you have been itching to talk here.
are we counting Steven's conspiracy theories in the count?
I don't care. I really
Conspiracy theory number 1.
You already had 2. This is number 3.
You
Three.
can't even
He can have his
track
own.
yourself.
He
What
can
does it
have his
matter?
own.
They were waiting for the cops to be called off. And my conspiracy theory is that Brian actually tells them to make a fake homicide phone call so that he can start the race. Like
I would actually believe
Brian
that.
is secretly like, "Hey, we need to race. I'm already here. I've already bet a $80,000 vehicle. Like, can you guys just make up a phone call here quick?"
That's legit. I had the question on here: is every time they do a street race, somebody dying somewhere in LA? Oh,
I mean, it's
that'd be
LA.
yeah, that's a better premise at least.
Conspiracy theory number 4.
Oh God.
The cops actually let him go because the first cop gets hit. The second 2 of the 3 cops like literally do power slides and leave him a giant hole in the center of the road to drive through.
Oh,
And they
yeah,
let him go.
after the race.
Yeah.
I had a note on that said, in the dark, this dude with a jacket, this cop goes past him going like maybe 30 miles per hour, recognizes it's Dominic Toretto, and I had down, does he have a prior rap sheet? How do they know that it's him? But so much that he's so such a high profile target, this cop is willing to do a quick flip in the middle of the road and do a 180 to turn back around towards him and shout Toretto through his speaker. I said that seems a bit egregious just for one dude.
Not just that, but I mean, why does Toretto even run? What is he? He is not. What are they going to have on him? Is he going to just pull him over? All right,
we know at this point.
Well, I mean, and if he has some other raps, they know where to find him. There's a Toretto's fucking grocery store.
Right?
I give it to you on that. I'll give you that. That was good.
It's really good too because I wrote down that Dom pulls the old GTA trick of basically when you're wanted by the cops, you pull into a parking garage real quick and they lose you. Well, then plus 2, we talk about the events of this scene here. Like the cop is right there on the street after him. He does the 180 and everything like that. Dom takes off running down the alleyway, and it's not the cop that the next thing that Dom sees. It's Brian in the car.
Mm-hmm.
The cop couldn't do another 180 to get down the alley. He had to put it in reverse and do a 7-point turn and slowly drive down the
Probably
alley.
a little old lady walking in front of him.
Doesn't matter if you're a cop or one of the street racers. Everyone behind the wheel can just pull insane stunts in their vehicle. I did highlight too with the color of the cars that Dom's car is red because he's the Furious and the Rage, and Brian's car is green because he's the newbie. Conspiracy theory.
Ooh.
No.
That's 5. There's a bullshit.
Am I counting?
But
I don't know why he's adding
I'm
in
gonna-
ours. I was just
Amanda's the one keeping track of the official records.
oh yeah,
so
I
we
forgot. I don't have to
care.
keep track. I just have to.
You just have to shout out your bullshit there.
Yeah, you
Yes.
guys go through them way too fast for me to have details, so all I got is numbers.
Gary's supposed to be responsible for putting them in the theories chat there.
I am.
I
have to write these.
Better get on that, buddy.
So Dom and Brian kind of have as they're driving away from the cops, they have a brief moment of talking to one another, and it's really, I kind of find it funny that Dom talks about he spent 2 years in hard jail, maybe is what to describe it as, but he's not going back there. And I'm just kind of like, again, this is one of those things. I'm like, okay, obviously I've never been to jail here. I don't ever plan on going to jail anytime soon. But it's like, you're concerned about 2 years. You're like never going back after only doing 2 years in jail.
You don't understand the life that he lived while he was in that jail.
You don't know what it's like to face the tormentors.
They didn't have Corona.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Because of the dementors.
For a guy that only lives his life a quarter mile at a time, he's pretty insistent that he's not going back to jail.
Right.
Yeah. I won't get on that yet. I will get on that later. I will not get on that yet.
I did notice when he's getting his jacket on, he's got his big silver necklace cross on. That caught my eye in this rewatch.
There you go.
I thought that was pretty prominent. Well, that's one way at least to identify that this is Dom. He's got that gigantic necklace that's like a foot long hanging off his neck.
And then we get introduced to the bad Asian gang there from Johnny Tran
Whoa.
and his cousin on their motorcycles.
And you know they're Asians because they drive up and they're all on motorcycles, and the motorcycles are all like Kawasaki's and Yamahas, and they bring them to the
Like
what is it, the Asian Garden or something like that, and it's like, wow, this is a plethora of information that these guys are fucking Asian as shit. Like
I did have a question on when they're like, follow me. I wrote down really quickly, how can he? Didn't he just blow the piston rings in his vehicle?
Yeah.
Like, how is his vehicle not smoking driving down the road with Dom, right?
I also had that as like a fact or fiction. Can this vehicle still drive, or let alone get away from the cops?
Right? Yeah. You just blew the piston rings. Me and the mad scientist got to rip apart the block and fix all this crap you did. But you're probably good to still drive away from police squad cars that are souped up for at least another 5 to 10 minutes.
if you believe hard enough, you can do anything.
It's the T&K food market is where they get driven into.
Quick note on that, too. Why take them to, like, his hometown place? That threw me off, too.
You could do
They're in his part of town.
Yeah, you could do more illegal shit in your territory than you can out in some random place.
Yeah, don't you know gang laws?
Yeah.
Well, if I was going to off somebody, I wouldn't do it on my own property. That seems, incriminating as crap.
Or blow up a vehicle on your own property.
Right? I mean, who takes care of that? Does he have to come back to work tomorrow and be like, oh, that's right, there's this burning car sitting on my premise that I have to have somebody clean up now?
Sorry, officer. It just exploded randomly. I don't know what happened. What about all these bullet
Right.
holes?
Right?
Strangest
I mean, it's
thing.
not like it's a police squad car or it was actually owned by an undercover cop or anything. They won't come looking for it or ask questions.
Car must have fallen down the steps. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
We learned that there's been history between Vin Diesel's character and the Asian gang leader Johnny Tran. And Vin talks, it's a long story, told very quickly, but it's basically business deal went sour and Vin slept with his sister. Which is like, okay.
Yeah, I actually caught that on the rewatch because I thought that him and Letty were girlfriend and boyfriend forever. So that was a line that stepped out to me because I thought that they were like they fell in love at first sight and they were always dating.
So they do say that she had been with him since she was 16. What they did not say is that Dom is a good boyfriend. So there's a lot of room there.
Oh,
Or he was just an early bloomer.
Or he's just not a good boyfriend. Dude lives his life 10 seconds at a time. I'm not sure he's looking for consequences.
Quarter mile at a time.
Sure.
Just keep it
Quarter mile at a
consistent
time.
Distance. Not time.
but he's
Not,
a believer in
not time.
honor.
It's always
I
distance.
don't think that's Dom. I don't think I guess he was a teenager. Not everyone can live
Okay,
by the same
no.
code when
Okay,
they're
I want to
15
say
is
something
when
here.
they do when they're 25. But
So you guys are all talking with the benefit of having seen, I guess, I'm assuming later in the movies it explores his character more. There is nothing from this first movie that tells me that is not in his character. Nothing.
I mean, you were absolutely right. Yes.
Conspiracy theory, Gary. Maybe he was actually like trying to help Johnny Tran's sister get out of the life of crime that her brother has brought her into. And
He was trying to help her by,
trying to help her,
helping
and
her,
then
right?
like they get caught together. But Dom can't oust his sister in front of her brother, so he just like, we were sleeping together.
And
Your
make it
sister,
quick.
dang. Yeah, and kicks her to the curb, and you can't help her. Maybe that's where the story actually came from.
I mean, the other possibility is to, like, they do mention Letty was around since they were younger, but that doesn't automatically mean her and Dom were together at that time. Maybe they just got
Well-
together at a later. Again, we don't know the history and all of that stuff.
They say Mia says that Dawn got eyes for Letty or whatever her name is when she turns 16.
No, yep. Now I remember that part too. Yeah.
Hmm.
So interesting, but yeah. Then they pull back up. Dom and Brian end up going back to Dom's place. They're in a cab that they had to catch, which I don't know why they were talking about the long time of walking there when they just called the cab.
I don't know why
You
they
have
just
to
can't
walk
call
to a-
someone else. Like, is there a payphone? Just fucking, hey Mia, my car got shot. Can you come pick me up?
Or better yet,
cell phones exist.
why don't
She's
they
at
go
home doing
get
homework.
why don't
Again,
they
I
go
think they're all
get Dom's
high school.
car that he parked? Like that
Yeah,
car
right?
just gets
Yeah.
parked and it never gets seen again. It's probably still
That's a
sitting
good
there to
point.
this day.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Didn't even think of that.
Oh, we have a mission, guys. Let's go
So
get
they
that
can't-
car.
They couldn't have been more than like 10 blocks away, right?
Mhm.
Nope, we got to take a cab all the way back home.
Guys, that car's been sitting there for 24 years. Let's go get it.
We get Dom's introduction to his love for Corona there when he steals the beer from other people that are at the party.
Which, by the way, Nick has a Corona. I let the Howard part of this podcast down. I said that we were going to be drinking Coronas, and I forgot to get them.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I noticed the Corona product placement. Also, PlayStation 2 Gran Turismo is played in the
Solid
other
graphic.
Asian guy's car. And
was so
also
cool.
Snapple. For some reason,
What?
Brian snaps
yeah.
open a Snapple in the kitchen.
Yep.
For Mia, because Mia's not drinking, because she's the responsible one. Everyone's drinking alcohol except for Mia. Mia's upstairs studying.
Studying, right?
Apparently,
She's doing homework on her bed.
yeah, she's studying, and
How
she comes
old is
down.
Mia? Now that you're getting me questioning if she's in high school.
Dude, that's what I'm telling you. I think they're all supposed to be like high school or just out of high school because they said that like they dropped
look
out
like
at one point. I
school.
thought.
I think Mia's at least college, maybe junior college or something like that.
Yeah,
She's
The situation
That
they're
looks-
at.
Probably junior college. I'll agree
minimum.
with junior college.
yeah. She is not in high school. No way. But I will say, Amanda had a fantastic comment when the guy drives up and he's playing a video game, and she references the Avengers, and that man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
And then we also learned that now Dom says to Brian that he owes him a 10-second car.
I will say real quick, and sorry for capitalizing so much time here, I had no idea what that meant. They do not explain what that meant, and I had no idea what that meant until the end of the damn movie.
He bet his car, and then the prototypical Johnny Trans of the world destroyed the car before he took delivery. So
I don't know what a
technically, he never-
10-second car
I
means.
think it
Like,
refers to
does it
how
go to-
quickly.
Do I have to fix it in
It's
10
about
seconds?
fast
Is it
women,
like
Steven.
a
That's
10
what I was-
seconds long car?
I think
Maybe
it's
how
10
quickly it
seconds to
races
get up to a
on a
certain
quarter mile.
speed.
Yeah, no, I think that's what it was. It's 10 seconds to go the quarter mile, and I understood that by the end of the movie. But when he said, "You owe me a 10-second car," I'm like, "What? What does that even mean?"
Yeah, it's going to be something I've brought up later as well, but especially with the first race, you get the sense that like these races must be like 5 minutes long, but no, they're supposed to be happening in 10 seconds. And that's it for real time. So,
Yep.
yeah. Time is very weird once the engines get revving.
Yeah, we didn't need to get into the weeds with it, but I was telling Tyler I had my own little weird twist in this. I did the math on some of that. Like a quarter mile was 1320 or something like that for the distance, and the average like little Honda Civic that the car they have is like 14 foot long. And so that distance divided by how many cars it would be to line the street so nobody gets onto the road when they're running that is like 87 some cars. I was like, nobody saw these guys driving down the road or thought that was suspect to see 87 souped up cars pull along the road. Yeah, really, really weird out there. I did have that when Mia realizes Dom and Brian are coming into the house and she stops studying and gets her clothes on. In the background, they're playing classic 2000s Ludacris with area codes in the background. I was like, oh, that takes me back. Which I thought was good because obviously Ludacris is a well-known rapper too, so I thought that was pretty funny.
You might say this is ludicrous.
Right? Exactly.
I think the races are kind of like Schrodinger's cars. If you look, you don't know how long the race is until you're actually looking in it, then it's actually going to be longer.
The Heisenberg uncertainty car. I like it.
Do we need like an entire section, Gary, of Steven explains part? So we can talk-
You do not know how long the race is.
Gary can explain to me what a 10-second car is. I'll explain to him what quantum uncertainty theory is.
I thought it went back to your theory on fast women. What a 10-second car is and fast women.
I didn't even make that connection.
Relativity theory number 1.
So shortly after the party ends, we learn Brian gets arrested there, pulled over on the street, and we learn that Brian is really part of this undercover unit between the police department of LA County there and the FBI of trying to figure out who's hijacking these trucks that we saw at the beginning there. Steven,
I will say my first
plot twist.
Yeah, my first no. You guys are all like that. This was my first honest to God plot twist. I was sitting here going, oh shit, he's a cop? The white guy's a cop? Yeah, of course the white guy's a cop. I don't know why I'm surprised about that. But I was surprised. I had no idea that was coming. This movie has been out for 24 years, and I did not know that was coming.
I didn't either. That was amazing. Steven and I both freaking out. We're like, oh my God, is he a cop? Oh my God, he's a cop!
Gosh,
like, we were totally
watching it, and I was just like, "Crap! I forgot it's not a known from the get-go." Like, did we ruin this on the previous podcast? Because like, we all knew he was a cop.
We didn't, so you guys did good. It was perfectly preserved, and Steve and I are both like, "Holy shit, he's a cop! Oh my God!" That was great. Did love it.
I went into some of the specifics trying to understand my Department of Justice and Corrections knowledge, and it said he's trying, because they mentioned you're trying to get that detective badge, and I was thinking to myself, is he already a cop and he's trying to get detective, or can he jump straight from he's a civilian trying to get his detective?
I think
can you do that?
Police officer and trying to become a detective in the
Police can
become
police.
I thought it's.
I thought he was in the FBI.
Yeah, I thought it was more in the
he was
FBI.
A police officer.
Yeah, he's a police officer.
Trying to get in with the FBI.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Right.
Got it.
That was confusing for me, so I wrote down. I was lost there for a second.
I wondered that too, especially when they look at him and say, "Are you a cop?" And he looks at them and goes, "No." And I was like, "Oh, well, he didn't lie to them. He must not actually be one yet. He's just getting there."
You're a cop.
Now you guys are telling me that he definitely lied.
You have to say if you're a cop.
Yeah, you have to tell me if you're a cop.
You have to say if you're a cop.
You have to say if you're a cop. Also, go ahead, Gary.
Oh, I was just gonna point out I literally started in the early part of the movie. I started taking down part numbers because I was like, crap, I gotta go figure out how much all this costs. And then luckily, what is it? They explain it that it's $1.2 million in that last truck and $6 million total in 2001 money.
And I wanted to jump
Steven?
ahead of Nick here real quick just to say this was also the point that I turned to Amanda and go, no fucking way. It was TVs. It's not drugs at all. What is going on? So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, guys, I'm not kidding when I tell you that he was freaking out about this repetitively several times days later, and he's telling you now.
So when this movie came out, obviously 20 years ago, you don't have the wherewithal and knowledge of like all these other awesome movies and references for these actors. But now watching this movie again, I'm sorry, but Sergeant Tanner, his boss, now watching this movie and knowing more who actors are in other movies, all I could think of was it puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
He
Silence
does
of the
that?
Lambs.
He's from
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah, Sergeant Tanner is Ted Levine, who is also in the recent Jurassic World movies as the bad guy. But yeah, he's also he plays Buffalo Bill in Silence of the
I
Lambs.
didn't realize that. Oh boy.
He's like
Should've
jumped
let him
out
in the
at me.
FBI.
I've seen this movie a zillion times, but I totally never caught that before. But now all I could stare at was Silence of the Lambs. Good stuff.
Okay. Steven, you previously said that you felt bad that you were like hoarding the time, and I will tell you that honestly, it's so much better for me to get to experience the movies for the first time through your eyes, because we all know they're insane and they're very dated, but it's so much fun that we get to experience it with you.
True.
Anyway, that was all.
I'm glad. I'm glad because
And
I'll be-
I can see that you're tortured, and there's only 6 more movies, right?
well, according to Amanda's dad, the plot gets going in a couple of these movies. So
Don't expect that to happen anytime soon.
I like the context of arguing about the science of Fast and Furious movies.
I will say, I did have one when they were talking about, if you don't do this, then the truckers are going to take action themselves. I'm just sitting there going, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm confused here. Of course they would. Is this something that you don't want them to do? You want them all to just get hijacked? Like, are we concerned for the safety of the hijackers here? Is that what's going on? I am lost.
We don't want vigilante justice there, Stephen.
I guess not. You can't defend yourself in your truck if you have a harpoon through your goddamn window.
The only thing worse than a bad guy with a harpoon is a good guy with a gun. That's what I always say.
And then we have Brian showing up to Vin Diesel's shop there with his new 10-second car that he's going to get because he's going to take it. They're going to fix it up and take it to Race Wars. I love just saying Race Wars over and over and being totally serious that it's not at all anything other than cars going out to a place to race.
Also, that he claims that Jesse claims that he only needs to put $15,000 into this vehicle.
Right? with overnighted parts from Japan. Like that's just what people do, right?
I
had that too.
Oh, sorry.
Oh. No, I had that too. I was like $15K with overnighted parts from Japan, and I said, "Isn't that enough to go on? Like, who else has that kind of money supposedly?" And these are like college. I wrote down high school dropouts, but college, junior college kids. Like, who has that kind of money to just throw around?
Well, they're definitely not high school dropouts or high school kids, but I will say if they're overnighting this stuff from Japan, what are they buying? One spark plug? That's it. I mean, because if you're overnighting it from Japan, that's having worked in that logistics kind of area. That's not easy. That shit has to go. You're not putting that on planes. Those are going on fucking cargo ships, my dudes. So it's
also remember,
it blew my mind.
As you told us, this is pre 9/11, so
yeah. Oh yeah, that's we
talked about that on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my parents were running a business with shipping stuff worldwide in the early 2000s, and shipping has gotten way more ridiculous since that time.
Okay.
So I could totally see overnight shipping being well within reason at 15,000.
Well, I will say my second thing here real quick is just when they open up that hood and everyone goes, "Oh yeah, look at that. That's so cool." And I'm looking, I'm like, "Yeah, that's a rusted, burnt out brick of a What am I supposed to be seeing here? Is there a diamond in there?
Everybody who watches this movie has super car knowledge to know what something is good or not, right?
I don't even think they have car knowledge.
Anyway, also things that are dated in this movie is that Jesse shows this like giant schematic in this CAD drawing, but he puts in an old floppy disk into the computer, like to let everyone know, before there
Floppy
were
disks
Blu-rays,
never
there were
die.
DVDs. Before there were DVDs, there were CDs that you could burn media on. Before that, there were floppy disks, which were solid and square and hard plastic. Before that, there was actual floppy disks that were made of a vinyl that you could literally bend, and that's what's in this movie.
To clarify, inside of the solid hard disks, there is a floppy disk. So
You're a floppy disk.
Actually, the small ones were called floppy disks, and then the larger ones that were floppy were called the hard disks. So, just to clarify. Anyway.
I love this rabbit hole.
One thing I like too about this scene, speaking of Jesse and the computer part, there is like Brian looks at him, is like, "You should be going to MIT." It's like one of those old tropes of like, this person knows how to use a computer. That must mean they're really smart. That means they should be going to MIT, the bastion of all technology and everything like that.
But he can't because he has the victim. He's a victim of the largest 2001 disease, attention deficit disorder. So.
Oh my God! Yes, that was, and the way they portrayed the ADD in that thing, like So for full,
it was exhausting.
I was technically diagnosed with ADD in around this time as well, and people made a big deal out of it back then, and the way that he's acting, it's super autistic, and it's like, I think your guy may have misdiagnosed you a little bit, because this is not ADD, my man.
He didn't get the MMR shot, so it couldn't be that. So
that's fair enough.
Yeah. We were diagnosing ADD in 2001, not autism, so it's fine.
Darn it.
Yeah, if the Fast and the Furious started a franchise in the year 2025, yeah, he'd be autistic. But here we are.
But yeah, no, I did pick up on that trope, though. I will say that, he's smart. He must be first of all, he must be a dropout. And second of all, he must be somehow underappreciated, and Dom is the only reason that he's able to express his intelligence.
Right.
What? So he's an idiot savant. Isn't that a word?
It is
yes, but that's not the way. That's not what he is.
I don't know.
Idiot savant would be an idiot in all regards, except for one thing, like being able to beautifully play the piano. This guy is straight up autistic, or has Asperger's, would probably be more the way that what he has. So he has a very big hard time connecting with other people, understanding emotions, being able to talk to other people. But he's very, so that his mind way, and that's what kind of autism.
Yeah, we have to time out that one there, Steven.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, so
I think it's good now. So
yeah, you're back to good. So go ahead, no.
All right. I don't know where I stopped. Or
just autistic.
Just cut all of what he said out.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll probably just leave it all in now, and I'll just cut this section out. So
he did have black fingernails, so maybe they were trying to portray him as like a wannabe goth or something for early 2001.
The fringes of that.
Yeah. We don't know how to make this non-great car guy a car guy, so let's just add him as many other random tropes as we can.
So, Nick, this is something you and I touched on, I think, outside of the podcast. We were talking about, like, in regard, like, we touched on this too right away, the clothing that everyone is wearing in these. Like, Vin Diesel is wearing, when we go to the barbecue scene next to, he's wearing the clothing brand Von Dutch, which is not something I've seen in a long, long time there. Although we didn't see any Jinko shorts or anything like that at least I could recognize.
Not that I thought there would be more of them, but yeah.
Maybe that's coming the next movie there. Anything we want to touch on with the barbecue here specifically, or just kind of keep moving on?
I think it does show, like we were joking a little bit about their family life. We were talking a little bit about their family life, and I thought that was a good scene that highlighted they did have at least some sense of like what a good family life would be for them. So I thought that was kind of cool.
There is some kind of bigger bond between all of these people there at the table.
I think Mia and Brian were talking on their date. I don't know if that's now or later. But we're talking about how it's like the team, and she jokes, it's like we don't call ourselves, the crew or the team or whatever, but they're joking about how they do have some sort of sense of connection with their little ragtag group of misfits.
Mm-hmm.
Even Vince comes walking back with his tail between his legs. The old coyote.
And he gets accepted back in.
Dave's just like, oh, I got hungry or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Guys got to eat.
Yeah.
Got to eat. Yeah, that was it.
So then we move.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Keep going.
I was gonna say that it's just definitely hits the vibe of that chosen family. I mean, they are a ragtag group of outcasts, as was said. Just a lot of them have their whole broken families they came from in various ways, and so I think especially in early 2000s that was. It's not a central vibe of the movie, it feels like, but it's definitely something that kind of resonated with folks, and I think probably a large part of why it ended up hitting as well as it did, rather than just like people coming to watch the fast cars for ultimately just a few minutes of the movie. Gives it a little something more.
Mm-hmm. We get some then kind of interaction between Brian and Hector, where Hector's come into Brian's shop there that he's working at to order a bunch of parts for cars and stuff, which is then starts Brian down the path of trying to investigate what's going on at Hector's place there, where he gets found out by Vince, and we ask him, "Are you a cop?" Because you got to tell them if you're a cop when they ask you that question there. And then Dom is there as well too. He's like, "Are you going NATO on me, Brian?" And I wrote that down. I was like, "What?"
Going native.
I think
Native.
he said native.
Native?
You're
Okay.
going native on me.
Yeah.
He's supposed to
Yeah.
You're going NATO on me. Dropping
Yeah.
bombs out of.
I wrote that down. I'm like, what does that have to do with? What does NATO have to do with anything? The North Atlantic Trade Organization.
I had subtitles on from the beginning, trying to understand all the random BS car parts they were listing off. So yeah, I caught native right away. I also had, since you highlighted where he's sneaking around before Dom catches him and asks him if he's a cop, did you notice that Brian drives his red Racer's Edge truck that everyone knows he drives to go stalk on Hector's location? Not like, that's inconspicuous or anything, and everyone knows it's your vehicle.
Just making a
Yeah,
late-night
I also
delivery.
got that. Of like, that's a very conspicuous vehicle.
Doesn't he say that too, JC? Like he just making a late night delivery or something like that?
I honestly couldn't recall.
Okay.
Very well could be.
Goodness.
Just kind of going through. Oh, they also at the same time too, they investigate Johnny Tran's place there, where they see they're trying to figure out what he's got. Brian finds the stack of DVD players and stuff there in their garage, and we see Johnny Tran pump some guy's mouth full of motor oil, which is heck of a way to torture someone. Gary?
I on the rewatch, I got that he asked his random henchman, should he go with the 40 weight or the 50 weight? And I had to go like, okay, I got to research this. So in motor oil, the higher weight number, like 50, indicates a thicker oil for operating temperatures, while the lower weight, like a 40, is thinner and will impact cold start performance and fuel efficiency. So I think he says 40, doesn't he?
I think so.
So he says the thinner of the two solutions. So
And
anyway,
it's-
that was like,
It's not his random henchman. I think it's his cousin.
Lance with the snakeskin pants.
Yep.
Nick is always looking at their crotches. That's how he identifies them.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is
Anyway,
the,
that
the
was
random
something
guy or whatever?
right.
Isn't that Brian's boss from the car place, or is it?
No, I don't think it was some guy we'd met before.
Oh,
Because he's
it's just
I think it's somebody new.
Okay, fair enough.
Snaking parts for Johnny Tran.
And supposedly he like had the parts, but he just like hid them in a warehouse.
Yeah, because he could resell them because the race wars was coming up soon, and he could sell them for a higher amount of money. And I don't. The plot starts
And that those vehicles
spinning here for
come
me.
with motors. Like somebody took the motors out and like lost them, and you went like, wait till you had the new motor before you made a giant hole. I don't know.
I think the motor fills the hole there, Gary.
Boy, oh boy.
Oh,
That's some
talking
solid
sexy over here.
R-truthing right there.
So,
Anyway, that's
next-
that's what I got.
there's some other stuff that kind of happens, but the next big thing that I wrote down is basically, Brian is starting to question Dom here of like, where's all of this money coming from and everything like that. But Dom then takes Brian back to the house into the shed there, which we get to introduce the famous Dodge Charger here. And I say famous because it's kind of like nowadays it seems like when you think about a Dodge Charger, you think about it black with that big blower on the engine there from this movie. Or at least I do every time I think of one.
When I think of a Dodge Charger, I think of a police car because they had the Chargers for the longest time.
Well, no longer is it the General Lee. It's now Dominic Toretto's Charger there.
Another Confederate statue gone.
Erasing our history.
Oh my gosh. Too soon.
And we get the famous line that Dom lives his life a quarter mile at a time.
So this entire scene is actually, for me, I came up with one phrase, and this is from another Marvel thing. It seems like Dom is living, like he's saying, everything 1/4 mile at a time. Oh, because his dad died. He was the one that was screaming. And so he beat a guy to basically a pulp with a wrench. And now the guy has to be a janitor. And it's like, I feel like he doesn't really care about any of that. Like, oh, something bad happened to my dad. So I beat the living, I made someone's life horrible. And now I am the victim here. The only release I get is by racing cars. And I'm sitting here going, you're not the victim here. In what way are you the victim here? You beat a guy just because he clipped him while they were street car racing. Stock car racing. That's what happens in stock car racing. And the thing that came to my mind was, everybody's got dead people. That's no excuse to get everyone else dead along the way. Like, what is your plan here? What are you thinking? And this is where I start coming into the idea of, I don't know why I am supposed to be rooting for Dom in any way, shape, or form. I'm finding him very unsympathetic. I'm finding him very narrow, and I'm finding him hard to relate to, because it seems like maybe if I had done something horribly wrong earlier in my life, that I could relate to him as, oh, well, I just want to be able to get away, and I can relate to him just wanting to get away for these little things. You know, you can also you can take heroin, you can take cocaine or something like that. Something that'll just hurt yourself. Don't hurt everyone else while doing it.
Okay, so Steven, in his speech, you didn't get any sense of regret when he said that he just started hitting him, and then I realized I didn't stop until I couldn't lift my arm. Like, now he's a janitor, which I feel like is maybe just poor acting, that he should have given a little more sympathy of like,
it's not so much that. Sorry, it's not so much like the sympathy at the time. Like, yeah, it sounds like, oh yeah, I kind of regret it now. You know what I really regret is going to prison. I'm not going back to prison again. he doesn't give a crap about that guy. He gives a crap about the fact that he went to prison. That's how I see it.
Consequences. I get that.
Yeah, I would say that's my read on it too. That it's more about like, oh man, I did this thing and it made my life hard, and that's the real issue now. Is that made my life hard, and now I have to do these other things that I might not have had a chance. Like, had I not beaten this guy up and all this stuff, then my life might have been easier, or my dad might have still been like, whatever. It's all about like the problems he has from it. Is what I totally got from it.
And what he says specifically is nothing else matters. Not his family, not his family's, not his family's issues, not the store, not anything. Why is this guy sympathetic? I don't understand why this guy is sympathetic, and that is something I'm going to come back to when we're at the end.
Like, they wrote him with the assumption there wasn't ever going to be another movie, so they like
could be fair.
Very much like I didn't even realize that like I guess that makes sense that like they did not grow him as a character throughout the movie. Only this was supposed to be the growth scene where you explain that he didn't just beat a guy. He beat a guy because he was feeling emotions and didn't know how to express them. But yeah, I didn't even think about it. That
I mean, like, not to pull this card, but my dad's dead. I've never beat someone to death, nearly to death for it. Just I don't understand. It's not sympathetic. It is not sympathetic to me.
For the record, I steered clear of you for a couple weeks after that. So
that's fair enough. You should have. I had a wrench minutes ready to go.
Anyway, I appreciate your feedback, Steven, because JC, sorry.
It's something I noticed whenever I was watching it now, and like at the time, I definitely wasn't sitting there at age 14 going like, yeah, I don't know, it seems like some toxic masculinity that Vin's putting off here. No, it was like at the time, it's just like, oh, he's so edgy. This is like a very anti-hero style of character development rather than like an actual like. I don't think they were sitting there in the writer's room thinking like, oh yeah, this guy's an irredeemable piece of shit. Like they were just going for that edgy hero style, and this is how they came across it. Which now with 2020 plus lenses, yeah, it lacks that redemption factor.
And I think Gary might even touched on it just a little bit there too. Of like, movies weren't written with sequels in mind back in the day. They're really like. He was written to maybe be the bad guy of the movie. Like you're not supposed to completely be on his side throughout the whole movie with some of the stuff that he says.
My counterpoint to that would be the very ending of the movie. So I don't know if we want to talk about it now, but
no,
let's wait because I have many thoughts.
All right,
many thoughts.
Or maybe that's not the right way to say it, but yeah, I kind of mixing with your anti-hero aspect there, JC. Like he's not something you completely 100% root for. He has his demons. Much like I think Letty says in there, Dom is like gravity. Everyone gets pulled to him.
Can you tell me why I would root, just up to this point in the movie, in what way am I rooting for him other than he can drive fast?
Oh, well then, no. Yeah. he's cool.
Okay.
He's cool. He's toxic masculinity.
Yeah, he is. He's masculine, tough,
he's
cool.
kind of he's kind of supposed to be like the center figure of this thing. All the other racers look up to him. You know, after he wins the race, he just stands there and basks in the glory of it. So it's like this idealized, anti-hero who everyone wishes they could be. You know, girls want him, men wish they were him, kind of an aspect, I guess.
He's the quarterback in this counterculture.
Right, honest. I will say, I was sitting there analyzing these two are the main characters, along with a bunch of other people or whatever. But like, you can see like they do click together nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Steven's face is very unconvinced.
I've met many people that click together real nicely that still are not good people. They're called gangs.
That's not my debate, honestly. It was just interesting that like I was like, I kind of get it. I get it. I think I did write down a thing at one point though when Paul, I was watching with Steven. Sorry, I can't get the character's name in my head because Steven kept calling him Paul.
Paul Walker.
Brian O'Connor.
Yep.
Is that it? Okay. Like I did make a note at one point, like this is just the love story when the girl doesn't love him, but the boy keeps trying and they realize they love each other. That was Paul Walker, though, was the girl trying to get Dom to realize, like, hey, we can be besties. And at first it was like a no-go, and I actually thought, like a love movie, they were going to drag this out, but actually those guys got tight pretty quick.
It's the forbidden love that couldn't happen in 2001.
I don't know. I was really surprised. Like we said, this was definitely a 2001 movie. This was definitely graphics. The plot's a little flimsy. I actually really liked it. I actually enjoyed it a lot, and there's lots of little things where I'm like, that's not realistic, or that's not how that works, or but there's lots of other things that, like, they did have some material to be working with, both in characters and in actors there.
Tyler, do we want to fast forward to the end or try to get closer to the end? Because I think Steven's ready to.
No,
We'll keep going here. I think we're doing just fine.
And I can wait. This is just when I start having. This is when I start having the issues with the movie, in terms of the plot. And I agree with Amanda. Every single character, that is something I like about this movie. Every single character in this movie does feel sort of genuine, does feel more fleshed out, and has a little bit of soul built into them. You don't get that in a lot of movies. A lot of movies bland people doing things and have a bit of soul. Does that mean I'm going to cheer for them, or that I like them, or that I necessarily want to see them run off the road? Who knows?
So the one point to touch on here is Johnny Tran's house is the one that's chosen to be invaded there by the FBI and the raid there and stuff like that. And he gets the slap from his father, which is humiliating to him. But they kind of then find out that Johnny Tran had all of this stuff legally purchased and everything like that. So it's not him who has all this DVDs, which then basically points to the one factor that it's Toretto. It's always been Toretto who's doing the heists. Gary.
In pausing for model numbers, they are none of the same parts or models in the two places. I actually had to these are completely different. Like the initial vehicle is a lot of TVs. The stuff at Johnny Tran's is a lot of DVD players, and specifically a car stereo. Also, we didn't mention product placement. Everything in this movie is Panasonic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just hawk in all of their electronics in this movie. Steven?
I do like how rushed that FBI sting was, and we have some circumstantial evidence, and obviously Paul Walker says, it's all circumstantial. We need to get something harder before we actually move against Tran and, his gang or whatnot, and they'll supersede him because there's a bigwig coming into town. But I also found it strange that they say, we got him on just a couple, loose weapons charges and all stuff like that. And it's like, those guys had automatic weapons. There was still an assault weapon ban back then. Those shouldn't be small charges. That still should lock them up for a little while. They shouldn't be out on the street. So I was a little confused about that. But also, I do think that the slap is pretty poignant, because Honor is, I guess it doesn't say exactly where Tran's family is from. I guess I would assume probably Vietnam. But honor is a big thing, and family's a big thing. You're talking about so if you're shown up against your family like that, or you're basically shown to be a piece of crap, that's going to be a huge thing for him. And so this is also where I start coming into, is Johnny Tran the real victim of this movie?
Okay, but his dad bailed him out. I was so confused by that. I'm going to slap you upside the head. Very humiliating, but also he's going to bail all you guys out.
Well, maybe it was after they all said, hey, he didn't actually steal any of this stuff. It wasn't actually him. We did it by mistake. Our bad, LOL. And he's like, Dad, they done fucked up.
Maybe, but as you pointed out, we know that there's some issues in there.
And then so Brian finally confronts Dom and like, we need to talk about this or something like that. But we have that nice shot of they take the car out for the first time and race that Ferrari, kind of showing off that this is now a fast car.
Classic Saliva.
Yes.
What a good song.
Yes.
Make me a superstar.
And Brian and Dom have that sit-down conversation there where Brian's trying to push him for more information, but they don't get any of it. Dom's going to talk to him after Race Wars. Again, I like saying Race Wars in here without having any negative connotation behind it, because it is about a racing event, Race Wars.
I do wonder, so he said there's like an address on that piece of paper he hands him at that, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think that address ever comes back into play. Ever.
It's the address of Race Wars that must be in the desert.
Is
or
it?
something.
Is that?
Yeah.
That's what it is?
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah,
He
that's what he
says
says.
An address to what? Race Wars.
That's what I assumed it was
Okay.
too. I
Okay.
just thought it was unnecessarily like acting like it was super secret. I'm like, I'm sorry, do you
Everyone
see how
was
many?
gonna go out there
Do you
anyways.
see how many people are? There's no way secret or any.
Race Wars.
Did they explain? Is it like in an old abandoned airfield, or is it just in the desert?
Yeah.
An
Like,
old like military, like an abandoned military
Military
base.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like they
didn't
pass over a
explain it
couple
enough.
signs saying U.S. military, like do not enter or whatever, and then I don't know. I felt like he was implying like this was like a secret address. You had to like be in the know to actually get the address, and maybe it's because I'm from a not as populous state. I'm like, I'm sorry, everyone around there is going to know where that is. That amount of people are not small or quiet or subtle. You didn't need to give an address.
Well,
If
and
he didn't know, then Paul Walker's an idiot.
To me, it kind of seemed like the type of thing that people would like advertise for. Like they're selling food trucks where people are like out.
Yeah,
in
you want
between their
business.
driving. Yeah, it's like it's super secret. No one can get there. By the way, tell your friends, bring some change. You know,
Right.
They have-
cash.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have a whole bunch of cars out in front showing off their stuff, like you have at any like old man buys a nice car, Sunday sort of thing. All the hoods popped up so everyone could admire how cool these cars are. They're marking all the cars so that you know exactly whose car is which, so that blah 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 blah. It seems very very formal for being so secret.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
they've
Yeah, we
got all-
worked really hard. Yeah.
Race Wars.
They've got a whole business going on, like lots of stuff. And I mean, if they're just trying to say that, yeah, they don't want to get shut down by the cops. Okay, maybe, but there's no way the cops' kids don't know where it is. Like, there's just way too many people here.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So then you have like a couple of races that happen there. You have Letty versus some random dude who's kind of hitting on her, which is Letty showing up basically that she could hold her own in this kind of culture and everything. And then
I will
have-
say,
oh, go ahead.
oh sorry, real quick, I do have a question about, and this is a question, almost car question, Nas thing. Why don't they just, put a giant, massive Nas thing in the back of the car and just keep it going the entire time? Like, it's not explained to me why you have such a limited amount of Nas.
And why
They
should
do-
you use it at a certain time? Yeah.
They do mention in the very beginning of the race movie when they pop open Brian's car at the warehouse district area before they race, and they say he's got enough NOS in here to blow himself away. I think NOS is highly explosive. That's why it's like listed as an oxidizer.
Yeah, it's
So
an
if you have
accelerant.
accelerant. If you have too much and you just constantly use it, I think there's probably a heat measure metric, which is why it explodes. Which is why when they're trying to do the secret missile lock buttons to start it, like they've all got little screens to show what the internal temperature is for their engines so they don't blow themselves up, would be my best guess as to why they don't have a certain threshold or too much of it, because it becomes more dangerous than effective at a certain point.
I guess I'd like
Also-
that explained in the show, in the
It would
movie
be
as it
helpful.
goes.
It'd be helpful. Also, I believe, Amanda, that it does have like a bell curve where it starts and it's really effective and you get a big speed boost, but then it tapers off how effective it is after a certain point. Because from my understanding, they always hit it and then the other people say too soon, Junior, or
That's what I noticed.
Yeah, and then so when you hit it, like you get that boost, you're up in front, but then you start slowing down. So then when she hits it, she gets a certain amount of benefit from it, where she can catch up to him and maybe just beat him by a nose. I guess was my understanding. You see.
I would say in terms of like the detriments to using too much NOS, I think isn't that basically Brian's car at the front end of the of the first race? Like that is what happens whenever it's too much NOS for too long. Your engine starts blowing up. Yep, exactly. And then you can only run away from the cops for like 20 minutes. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in the event here, Jesse is the next one up for racing there that we see. And he's put his pink slip for whatever reason on the line against Johnny Tran.
Why?
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't understand. It's like he works for Dom. He should have cash.
He works for Dom. He has no reason to try and prove himself because we haven't seen anything thus far that says he's a good racer. He just knows, aside from the fact that he should go to MIT.
Yep.
And no one around him says like maybe you should.
No, they say don't do it. They definitely say don't do it.
Yeah. They say don't do it. Yeah.
It's not like anybody is telling him he needs to prove himself or like really make this what he's doing. All we really gain out of the scene is that we see that he's spontaneous and doesn't make the best choices, and it just goes south for him. I didn't really
typical ADD.
Yeah, right. That's why you can't allow those type of people in the military either.
Oh, goodness.
Then Johnny comes back basically and accuses Dom for the raid that happened on his house. Dom yells out, I never narked on no one.
Also a narc. That's what throws him over.
I guess real quick, we did skip over when he loses that whatever that tech kid when he loses the race,
Jesse.
he just drives off into the sunset. He's gone. Like does not come back. And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna owe me another 10-second car." Blah 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 blah. And then the narc thing happens, and holy cow! Johnny Tran gets a beat down just for having called him a narc, I guess, and that's
the race wars turned violent. Yeah,
that seems like a totally non-narc thing to me. Is if someone calls you a narc, the first thing you do is try to murder them.
I would say though, it's from my read on it, it's more about Johnny is challenging Vin's respect there and kind of place in the culture and everything. So when you're calling him out as a narc, you're challenging his status there, and he's like, "No, I'm not."
We're not in your neighborhood anymore. You better watch who you're talking to like
that.
And then, cuts to the nice party after scene.
Yep. Every race wars has to have a good after party.
Coachella party in the back.
Exactly.
Yep.
Coachella of cars.
Where are these parties happening to?
At an abandoned airfield. Amanda, get in your game. Come on.
It's at the same place. Yeah. Sorry. Yep. I thought they had left and gone somewhere else.
Pre-Burning Man, this was the biggest desert party that you could
do. Race wars.
Oh.
And then we've got Brian all concerned about, because he knows Vin and the gang left there and everything, and Mia's upset about all of this, and Brian is starting to push her of like, what is going on? And before I drop what he says here, did you have a point before that, Steven?
It leads into this.
Okay.
My question, and I'll follow up on this later. The first thing that we see Dom do, he is talking to me about this, and he drives off, and my first thought is, oh, he's going to go get the kid. Does he go get the kid?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
A good point. He just leaves him out in the wind. Hold on. Doesn't somebody say, I got to go find Jesse? Later.
That's later.
That's much later. Yeah. And that's what I'm going to bring up. I'm going to bring that up.
Solid catch. 20-some years. Yeah, I'm all about my family, my team, and my peeps.
No, not even slight. So that I will bring that up because I have an entire thing leading up to that.
So do they maybe have like a manifest? Like they know that this shipment is coming at a certain time and what road it's going to be on? Like...
I had a comment at the very, very beginning when you first see the spinning CGI graphics as Fast and Furious. Nobody ever busts the random dude who's Dom's informant who's telling him when there's a shipment coming. That's the dude who I imagine is giving him all the information about the manifest and there's another truck coming. There's some dude on the phone who's like just in passing. You never even see his face. He's like, "Hey, I got another one coming your way. See ya." At the time, we just think he's talking to whoever the bad guy is, and we find out later it's Dom. My one question in that is, I agree with you, Tyler, when you say that Brian's character is concerned about what's going on and he sees Mia scared, but also he's getting pressure from the FBI director too, who keeps telling him, "I don't care if you have to put a gun to somebody's
48
head."
hours or something.
Yeah. Put a gun to
36
somebody's
hours.
head, you blow your cover wide open. You figure this out. So he's like, "Hey, something's going to happen here, and apparently vigilante justice will be done either way. So I have to do something." And he sees this as his last chance.
And he informs Mia, "I'm a cop."
It's the weirdest thing ever. The weirdest way of doing it ever. You go, "I'm a cop." And she's like, "The fuck?" And the first thing is, "But I actually love you. Now I need to go get your brother." Like, what is going on? This is so weird.
Everything I've told you has been built on a lie, except my feelings. Those are true. Like when we slept together, which was a scene that we haven't talked about, by the way.
I mean,
Like, I care about you, but everything else I've said to you has been a complete lie.
and then I wanted to do this part plays into the trope that last job always goes wrong. There's something always that happens in the last job, the final one you're going to do before you ride off into the sunset. Something always goes bad.
Oh.
Well, and that's, I mean,
Also,
that's-
Jesse like no-showed and they didn't cancel it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesse no-showed. That's what I was saying. Like, they didn't go find Jesse either. They just let him go off into the wind. But then,
So
they know that, and that's what Brian keeps getting told, is the truckers are going to take things into their own hands. And you're like, okay.
So maybe on that note, they thought Jesse just drove off in the distance. Maybe they thought that he would at least come back for this last deal and show up with them at like the observatory where they have the park.
It did not sound like that when they showed up at the observatory.
I'm just trying to
Because
think
they
of,
are
like,
all...
how to highlight that.
No.
And
We're
then they
trying to
all go,
find a solution
"Hey,
for
maybe we
something
shouldn't do
that's...
this without Jesse," when they realize he's not there.
They're all
I don't know.
concerned, like, where Jesse's not here. We can't do this without Jesse, blah, blah, blah. They're not like, "Oh, Jesse didn't show up." It's, "Oh, we can't do this without Jesse." So...
I did want to highlight really quick before we get into this last bit too of the movie, with this last heist. Also, Tyler, Dom says to Letty that he had a dream of her on a beach in Mexico.
Okay, that's a good point. Everyone's got to have a vision and a dream for what they do when they hit their last job.
Mm-hmm. Well, just like you said, this is kind of where they ride off into the sunset if they pull this last one off. Still know those TVs and VCRs.
But as we all come to find out, the last job goes wrong. The trucker starts shooting back at everyone.
Ho, ho,
here.
ho, I have a shotgun.
Yeah. Vince is the one who gets tangled up in the wire of the harpoon gun, Gary.
any guesstimate on what the number of shotgun shells is? Because it was quite a few. Like, and you show him like it later on. They show him like trying to jam shells into a double barrel, but earlier on he is very, very quick reloads, and then all of a sudden he's all thumbs.
It's a short barrel too, so it's not like he can stick a whole lot in there.
Well, it does look like a double barrel to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's shooting
I think
so
it's
slow.
over and under.
Yeah, it's an over under.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But that's why he's shooting so slow. I mean, he doesn't kill the guy immediately. He's shooting once at a time, and then reloading, and then once at a time. He'd break his hand. Don't get me wrong, but that's a different, I guess, topic.
He's a trucker. He's made of different material than you and I.
Yeah. Well, here's my other question. Why did this
Over the top with Sylvester Stallone? He's a professional arm wrestler.
Yeah, definitely. Why does this one, hijacking happen in the middle of the day as well? Like every other hijacking has been at night so that no one can see them. This one, it's like, all right, guys, it's 10 a.m. Let's do this. What?
Because it's hard to film slow-mo shots in 2001 at night.
Yes.
I assumed it was the back and forth.
I guess, and while this is all happening as well, Dom also yells at whatever his redneck dude is on the truck, unlatch yourself, unlatch yourself. And I'm sitting here thinking, Why in the name of God would he unlatch himself? I don't even trust you to catch him at this point. He's just going to fall under the truck
and get run
Dead.
over by a semi.
So I don't know what the
Tough choices
and obviously
there, yeah.
things went real south there, and Trucker put up one hell of a. Finally, Paul Walker goes up and pulls the amazing policeman, save the guy, and then call in a helicopter to medevac him out. Now, Dom knows that he's a cop, and it's the stare. Mia, get over here. We're leaving. Like, it's going Batman on this.
I wonder why Steven, your method of slowing the truck down might have been a little better than Harpoon's.
Yeah.
If you really need to, harpoon the back of the truck.
Away, and then just they're gone.
Well, no, just harpoon the back of the truck with a bigger truck. If slow down, tear off that thing, have someone jump in the back of the truck and just throw the stuff out.
Yeah. A lot of better plans there for sure.
I mean, how many cars we got between us? Let's start this thing going.
Yeah.
Wasn't there also a lot of discussion when this movie first came out that that last scene where you can see Vince's arm is all caught up in the wire and it's all bloody? Why this movie got the rating it did versus PG-13 versus an R-rated movie? I thought that they had a lot of visual effects of him having his arm all cut up, and that made them want to give this an R-rated movie.
It was an R-rated thing? It wasn't like groping the tit? It was R-rated?
It was 2001. You can get away with whatever you wanted to.
Fair enough.
But they wanted to take it down so that more audiences could see it. And I think this movie, double check and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's rated PG-13. And they took out some of those extra scenes and made this a PG-13 movie versus an R-rated movie.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's just the version I was watching on Amazon Prime. There's a definite dub of one of the policemen. I think it's the Silence of the Lambs guy or somebody. He says to Brian, I think that kid's sister is blurring your vision. I mean, I also get off on the surveillance photos too.
Yes.
And if you look at his mouth, he's like, I think he says something probably a little more vulgar, like I do that too or something.
That's
but it's
earlier.
definitely
Yeah. I think
that's
that's
much
it's definitely dubbed. Nick was talking about PG-13, and that was a very noticeable, dubbed line that probably was taken out to take it off of an R rating.
Yeah.
Because I think when they had the final movie pretty much done, or more enough done, they were showing it to film critics and different folks. They said it's pretty graphic. It's got some stuff in it. They might have changed some of the language or redubbed certain things. But I remember that last scene, specifically when you see all the blood in his arm and how wrapped up he is. Again, compared to movies nowadays, it seems pretty tame. But back in 2001, they were like, we think that's too much. You can't show that. And they were going to make it an R-rated movie. Then decided that they would take out just a couple of those in-between shots so you don't see as much of that stuff, and made it a PG-13 instead. Which, again, it still has a lot of stuff that's questionable because, the 2025 lens.
So Brian shows back up to Dom's house there to try and stop Dom, take him in or whatever, and Dom's like, I gotta go find Jesse here.
And this is where it all comes into play for me. He now cares about Jesse. Now that his plan has failed, that he ran his girlfriend off the road, and that one of his guys is in the fucking hospital, probably going to get arrested for having been in, around where this trucker probably is going to say, hey, I had an attack and I was shooting at a guy. Now he's like, oh, but I need to go get the kid. You need to step out of my way. Like, you're now caring about the kid? The kid's been gone for 18 hours now? What is going on here? Like, what are you actually caring about? And this is, I feel like the movie starts losing coherence at this juncture. A little bit before now, but it starts losing coherence. I've always heard Dom is all about family, and so I expected him to go after this kid. And he doesn't. He doesn't go after the kid until everything else has failed, and he's really angry at Paul Walker now. And so it's this, along with the very next scene, which you were going to get to, I'm assuming, is Paul Walker is holding a gun at Vin Diesel, and Vin Diesel doesn't want to give up. He has a shotgun. I don't know why he has a shotgun, because the dude is like going to go find his kid, or like the kid that he's going to be taking care of. What is he going to do with a shotgun? But he has a shotgun. You're on mute.
I said in case any cops show up.
I guess.
I figured it to defend himself against Johnny Tran if he has found the kid.
What?
I feel like the shotgun would have been really, really useful in a previous heist.
Yeah, would have. But then Johnny Tran drives on by and machine guns the entire area. And this is my second issue here. I have no idea what happened. No idea. Because bullets are flying. I think the kid gets shot. Bullets fly around Mia. I have no idea if the kid is dead or not. And they drive off. Do we come back to this scene? No. Do we get an answer whether the kid is dead? No. Do we get any sort of resolution about the machine gunning that just happened? No.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We never found out.
It's up to you. Does he survive, Steven? Does he show up in the next movie? Does he show up in any movie?
Okay, I'll have that same question about Johnny Tran. I'll have the same question about Johnny Tran, who also, Paul Walker and what's his name, run his cousin off the road, crashes him, and then Paul Walker shoots Johnny Tran in the back and gets him down. He runs up, checks his pulse, and it looks like he's dead. And goes, "Call the cops! Call the car! Or call 911!" And then goes to find Vin Diesel again. And at this point, I'm going, "Wait, is Johnny Tran dead again?" The movie does not come back to this. It does not tell me if Johnny Tran is dead or what happened to Johnny Tran. So I don't know whether the kid is safe. I don't know whether Johnny Tran is dead. I don't know if Mia took a bullet, because there were bullets flying all around there. Like, This is what I mean about losing coherence.
Questions I asked Tyler is who does Steven and Amanda think survives and shows up in later movies? But we can table that for now.
Okay. But... And this is what I mean about the movie losing coherence, is that it seems like at a certain point they went, "Oh shit, man, we're almost out of money. We need to wrap this the fuck up. Let's just gun battles, cars. Let's go, 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 go." And forgot to go back and actually answer the questions that they're posing. And it lost me. It lost me. And it made me not really enjoy the movie as much, because it seemed like it was an unfinished B-rated movie, which, I mean, Lord of the Rings came out in 2001. They know how to finish movies. This wasn't something that was new. So this just seems like a C-B-rated movie that came out in 2001, because they have no idea what they're doing. I've seen horror movies that end like this.
So it was an artistic choice to like bring the audience to the forefront of like, what do you think is going to happen? You think there's going to be a confrontation between Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, and it starts as that, and you're like, oh, well, we're going to have a plot twist. This kid is going to get gunned down, and then that's going to detour them temporarily to the point where they're no longer foes. They're moving towards a common goal, which is to track down Johnny Tran, because I'm sure Paul Walker's character, God, I'm pulling a Steven, actually did care about the Jesse. Like, he had honest, emotional, interpersonal feelings for this person who just got gunned down, and not only is it illegal to murder someone in the street, and he's a cop, but also, like, he probably wants revenge. Like,
he has such emotional... Sorry. He has such an emotional tie to this kid that we have no idea whether he survives or not. We know he's shot, but I don't even know if he's shot. I think I saw him get shot. But such an emotional tie that we have no idea what happens to him.
I'll say, in terms of the actual specifics of the scene, we do see that he has a bullet hole or bullet wound that he's bleeding from in his chest, and Mia is safe. She runs down the steps and is holding him, and Dom is like, okay, Mia's got him, and then that's when he goes off to the car and she's saying, "No, Dom, don't." So we know she's okay. We know he is at least wounded. So as far as the specifics of the movie, but yeah, the emotional aspect of we're very much stuck with the bromance from here on out, and we're not necessarily thinking about the rest of the family at this point.
I totally took him as dead because of the way that they both reacted to that, the way that she's kneeling and saying no, 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 and I'm like, crap, like he's dead, isn't he? But I don't know. There's more movies. I guess I'll find out.
I saw the same thing. I was thinking in my head that he was dead from when I watched this movie. Just this movie at this point. And then when I went back and watched it, I was like, I'm trying to remember the specifics of, do we see something definitive? Like at one point, Mia's holding him, or Dom is there with her, and he's just like flopping in their arms. Like he doesn't look very lifelike at that point, and I think it's implied that he did take at least a couple bullets.
Okay, but if you're implying that someone got shot, that is not the same thing as implying they're dead.
That's what it seems to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
She got shot in a PG-13 movie, Steven. Like there's bullet wounds, but it's not gory, it's not bloody, there's no brains on the sidewalk.
Squibs aren't flying off in slow motion as he flies backwards.
Yeah. All right, and you know what? And Goku takes punches to the face from super-powered Frieza all the time, and he survives, and that's a PG-13 or I don't know what that is.
It's a cartoon. You can show whatever violence you want in a cartoon.
Yeah, this movie is basically a cartoon. Anyways, I don't know. I do expect some sort of resolution. If you're going to show me this big of a plot point, which was supposed to be a big plot point, I'm assuming, then I need some sort of resolution on it. I need Paul. I don't need it to cut to the sunset, and that's what this movie does. After Paul Walker and Vin Diesel race, and Vin Diesel crashes because he's not as good as driver as he thinks he is. He drives off into the sunset. Paul Walker's like, "Here's the keys," and you know what? That is all you get. You don't get like Paul Walker walking by, going and seeing like one of the guys in the hospital. We don't know if the redneck guy survived from the car crash. From
Vince,
whatever his name is, the redneck dude. We don't know if he's alive because he had severe injuries. If you don't get him to a hospital in 5 minutes, he is dead. Is he alive? We don't know. Like, this movie builds me up. And maybe this is just me coming from an outside and hearing all this stuff about Dom is all about family. I don't know where that comes into the movies, but I know that is a big thing in the movies. Dom seems to not care a shit about his family. I don't get it.
Counterpoint, this movie is actually shifts perspective, and now it's being relayed to the viewer from the perspective of Dom. He doesn't know if Jesse's alive or dead by the time he leaves. He has to run. He can't go back to jail. So now he leaves, and like him, we the viewer don't know what's going on with Jesse. What happened to Vince? Is he in jail? Is he in the hospital? Did he even survive the flight? I don't know. I just had to go find Jesse, and now I have to be on the run. And yeah, it's that mystery that poor Dom Toretto's living his life just a quarter mile of a time. Can't look back in the rear view.
I also want to get your guys' opinions on Paul Walker just handing the keys to Dom after he crashes his car like an idiot. Like, you know what you're doing? Take the keys and go. Like, what is Paul Walker's end game here? I don't. This is something I also don't understand.
What he says.
I know that.
Quite honestly, Steven, it 100% doesn't make sense, but at the same time, I liked the ending. Like, I felt like Paul Walker was being like, this doesn't really make sense to me either, but like, this is the family, this is my family, and here you go. I did.
Guys, I'm sleeping on the couch tonight. You have like a spare Gary.
Perfect time for the robot voice.
That was perfect timing.
Oh no.
For that. But Steven, fine, feel free. I'm sorry. I honestly did. Like, I was totally wrapped up in what was happening in the movie. Like, I watched the second half of this movie while I was falling asleep. thinking I'm never going to stay awake through this. No, I was riveted the entire time trying to like through the action sequence. And of course, I'm always a sucker for a happy ending, if you can call that. What happened
again?
at Al?
Why am I even rooting for Dom? We're letting the guy who just like fucked up everyone's lives get away for no reason whatsoever. I don't understand what's going on here.
I think with this movie, Steven, you have to step back a little bit on the logic and be like, let's just go with the movie. This is not one of your logical movies. It just isn't.
That is very true. It is not a logical movie there.
Okay. So,
New game.
Did
Next
I
time
like the ending? I felt like it was a lot more cobbled together on the rewatch. That is very like, here are the keys. I think as we mentioned, this was not a big budget movie. It was kind of a low budget studio movie, and I'm sure on paper they storyboarded out the whole story. And the story is supposed to be that he goes in trying to gain Dom's respect, and in the process he gains respect for Dom. So that was the intent. Was it greatly facilitated? No, but in hindsight, you forget all of the very large plot points, and it goes. If you smooth it over, it just goes as like he loved his friend so much he was willing to break the law as a cop and just let him go.
If you give it 24 years of time.
No, I do. I like how Gary put that, though. Like, he went in there intending to do this job, intending to figure out who was behind this and turn him in and get the proof, the intelligence that guy needed. And instead, he ended up, like, liking these guys. He liked their family. Yeah. Is it illegal? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's not the point in this case, honestly. Like, he did it because,
there's a lot of illegal
the personalities. Their personalities just clicked.
But he went full NATO on them.
Yeah, he went full NATO. There are movies out there where you have strong personalities which all come together for a illegal task. Ocean's 11. I mean, but the thing is that you are stealing from someone or going to take from someone who's also just as bad a guy. And this time, you're stealing from just regular random truckers on the road, and I'm supposed to be rooting for you?
Yeah, but Steven, aren't you always the one that gets mad when like people are just too good in a movie? Like, it's not realistic enough. These are real. They were just being real.
And again,
you know, they're a little.
You have to be careful about the 2025 perspective on the technology and the money value in a 2001 movie.
No. So what I more mean is that in this movie, they are stealing from truckers, and they are stealing from just normal, everyday people doing their jobs. This is the equivalent of supporting just house break-ins, just because, you know,
pirates.
Yeah, and I also don't like pirates because they're pieces of shit. But and that's also why I don't like Tyler, because he's a Buccaneers fan. But
we'll always have 2020 NFC wildcard. Or NFC
I hate you. I hate you so much. But no, real quick. But in other movies, when you're stealing from people and you are the anti-hero, you're being an anti-hero by being a bad person, taking out a worse person, right? This is not that. This is a bad person taking out good people, for all I know.
They fixed that in later movies. Also, Steven, this was made in a pre-9/11 world. Like,
what does that mean?
In a 9/11 world, like, the country came together. Like, we were all about the working man and about building the country back together. This is just like everyone out for themselves.
So in 1998, we were all about just like taking crap from everyone else? Question mark?
I mean, there's certainly the Robin Hood aspect of stealing from the rich to give to, like, if you're going to subscribe to the corporations are good and deserve to be treated with respect, then we'll have discussions about that later. But they're not killing anybody up until the truckers are arming themselves. Whenever they're stealing stuff from trucks, they're specifically using that ridiculous harpoon tranquilizer setup to then make sure that they are knocked out and not killed. So They're having a bit of a good heart of gold to that thieving.
I am sure that the truckers who generally own their own rigs are entirely fine with that.
This is 2001. We didn't know about trucking logistics
Okay,
and
fair
the struggles with that.
Supply line hadn't really come to the
I'd
limelight.
honestly be more okay with it if they were just straight up stealing from some bland corporation or what like that. To me, this feels like they're stealing from the average person. It really
Yeah.
does.
I can understand that, and I just think it's interesting that they're not pure good. They're not the Robin Hood thing is a treasured trope, but it's kind of refreshing to not see in this case. Is like they're not all good, and he still chooses them. Why does he do that? Let's find out.
Or on.
Where are so everyone knows listening, I had to step out for just a brief moment. Where kind of are we at? Are we just at the ending here and what we're talking about, our thoughts on the ending?
More or less.
Yeah,
We talked a
pretty
little
much.
bit about the final car chase scene and like how we feel about Dom handing over the keys kind of in the end of the chase. You can
Said
talk
that
about
Dom
it.
wasn't a very good driver because he crashed
Steven's
his car.
flabbergasted that I like the ending.
I don't think that he's a bad driver. I think Brian's a terrible driver. I think Dom has said from the beginning that he's scared of that car, right? He said, "Why don't you ever drive it?" I haven't. I'm scared of it. It's like 900 some horses or some ridiculous amount of horsepower. At the very end, like he said specifically, I used to drag this strip back in high school, and I know it's exactly a quarter mile. So it's like he's familiar with the roads. It's the first time he's driven that car. I'll give you that. But he knows how to drive. I think that it's just that last like truck or whatever it is comes out of nowhere because he says he's familiar with the road. He just doesn't anticipate it's going to be there. And they're going so fast trying to beat the train that they beat the train, and they have this slow motion movement of like the two of them look at each other, lock eyes or whatever you want to insinuate there. And then
They're like, I have such a huge
they
erection
connect.
right now.
I'm not shifting gears with the pedal anymore.
Exactly. And this truck comes out of nowhere, and then that's what he hits and flips him. So I don't
Yeah.
think it's necessarily that he's a bad driver. It's just they're
That's why
going
you're
so
not supposed
fast.
to drag
and they
race
see
because
the state
you're
of
not that
euphoria.
you're not that good a driver. You're never that good a driver. You're gonna hit another car like he did.
So now we're getting to the logistics and the thought of drag racing and stuff like that.
God
Okay.
damn right.
A good driver wouldn't
Also,
put himself
another
in the
scene
situation to
that
begin with.
usually takes place at night. Drag racing usually takes place at night, where there's less other cars on the street.
I don't know what drag races you're doing, Gary, but us real drag races drag race in the middle of the day.
Race wars.
When everyone's at race wars.
Race wars.
My overall thoughts on the ending are like kind of piecing together what everyone's talked about here. I kind of agree with that thought of like Brian went into this trying to do his job, and it's kind of a trope too in some of the movies as well. He came out at the end of the job basically having more respect for those people that he was basically embedded there with, to the point that he realized he owes it to Vin for everything that Vin has done for him, in a way. To
A little bit of the Fern Gully, the Dance with Wolves kind of mentality.
Sure. I'm not familiar with either one.
Children's movies and a like 1990s Kevin Costner movie.
Avatar.
Right over my head.
They all have that same trope, right? The person who's supposed to go in and destroy the culture ends up
Yeah, and why do they go quote unquote native in those movies? It's because the people that are actually going in are the bad guys, and you realize that, and then the bad guy turns into a good guy. This is not that.
The cop became not a cop. Hell yeah.
The cop
Defund
became
the police.
Yeah. The cop became something, all right. I mean,
JC's dropping 2025 culture words on this movie from 24 years ago. No one has any idea what was going on.
Race wars.
Race wars. God. Just want the random sound bites.
Yep, here we go.
From the police. Race wars.
So, any thoughts on kind of what's changed? Your favorite character coming into this movie and favorite character going out?
Yeah, let's go with that. Like your favorite character and least favorite character, kind of going out of the movie there. Gary, you go ahead and start since you brought up the question.
I I on the first watch, I was like, oh, I think I remember really liking Mia because she's kind of a audience surrogate. She's not like an immediate racer. She's not necessarily one of the heist people. But on a rewatch, it was realizing like, oh, she completely knows that they're doing all these heists, and she says nothing. She's just a passerby to like lots of illegal activity worth millions of dollars.
Trying to get her junior bachelor's associate degree, right?
Yeah, got to pay her way through college somehow. Oh, they're making tuna sandwiches.
So did Mia stay your favorite character then?
I think she probably did. She's she's likable the entire way. She's still kind of an audience surrogate. Least favorite character is probably Jesse, like similar reasons that Steven said, that he's just like a bad learning disability like caricature.
Blame the victim who gets shot.
Also Leon, I don't remember Leon.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick, to you.
I think Dom was my favorite character watching this movie. I think he's still kind of my same favorite character. I think that Steven's giving me some stuff to think about, but I still think Dom walks away as my favorite character. Vince is probably the person I dislike the most. He kind of seemed, like he had Mia all locked up, and clearly there's no interest there because she says, I don't date my boyfriend's friends.
Brother's friends.
She has no interest in ever doing anything with him, even though he's clearly been hitting on her for a while, because she says, what's that little restaurant you always want to try and take me to? And so just that he keeps trying and failing horribly, but he's clearly got these jerk vibes to Brian for coming in and shaking up the group. I kind of feel like Vince is the person that I dislike the most.
Amanda.
Well, I knew so many characters going in. I vaguely did like Mia. After watching it, Paul Walker's character at first, I was like, well, look at this hotshot idiot who thinks he knows what he's doing. But by the end, I actually really did like him a lot. So I'm going to be hopeful for that. We're going to see where that goes. Dislike. I'm honestly not sure for characters for dislike other than oh, I know. The freaking FBI guy that sat there and go, time? You want time? Get a magazine. And I was like, oh my gosh.
That's some high quality writing.
It was such a stereotyped, big bad boss up the ladder that doesn't know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, guys, you could have made this guy so much cooler and you went there. But I blame the plot for that one, not him.
JC, to you.
Honestly, my favorite character that I recalled, and still after the watch, was Jesse. Despite being a definite caricature, he is still, at least in a group of outcasts, he's the most outcast. He's on the island of misfit toys. He's the most goofy, messed up toy. And so it's just, especially in a movie where it's all about this ragtag group of folks that still band together, it's fun that it's not all just the cool people that for some reason act like they're outcasts even though they're actually all cool. So it's nice to have that, and being the little computer nerd, and oh hey, a computer nerd can also be with the cool group. So it's nice to see some representation in that sense, I guess. Least favorite, I'm gonna go and continue bringing modern things back into the movie against it. Ja Rule, because Fire Festival was a scam, and
Fire Festival. We just dropped the Fire Festival reference.
That's awesome.
I saw him as soon as I said, I'm like, that Fire Festival. Yeah, he's just. No, I've always. Oh yeah, I've just always never liked Ja Rule to begin with, but it's just something. His style was not ever from me, which I don't think he would be offended by. But yeah, the comedic effect that he tried to bring there just didn't work with me ever. It's always been a low point. Skip.
Mm-hmm.
Monica.
Steven.
All right, so I have a double answer on both. I have the person that I probably most liked throughout the movie was Mia. Mia was a fun character, and I feel like they did give her a little bit of personality and a little bit of leeway. Like when she's doing the driving, she shows that yeah, she can drive too. She can do all this other different stuff. I guess that she would probably qualify for the favorite character. My second favorite character though is Johnny Tran. Bet you didn't see that coming, because I think Johnny Tran got just a dirty deal in this movie.
Steven loves the villain.
I do. Yes, Johnny Tran was the villain in this movie, 100%. I think that he actually the disrespect that was shown to him, and knowing that it was someone on at least Vin Diesel's crew that had narked on him. I mean, I understand the revenge shooting. If I don't condone it, I at least understand it. It makes sense. And so...
Wait a minute, you don't like...
Nothing about Vin Diesel makes sense. And I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
I'm going to get to that.
Okay, go ahead.
My least favorite character is definitely Vince. I think Vince created to make everyone hate him. That's just genuinely what his character was this weird dude that sits around all day, and I don't know. The Offspring made a song about people like him. But my second least favorite character is Vin Diesel. And that's because he has no reason for what he's doing. He puts his family in danger for no reason. He abandons one of his guys until he just miraculously shows back up, and then really kind of claims to, or feels like he is this center point, this black hole, like what Mia was saying, that everyone orbits around him or gets sucked into his orbit. And he doesn't seem to take any sort of responsibility for any of them. He seems like he takes them all for granted, and it's kind of hard to see. Amanda, you want a rebuttal? I see that.
I don't. I am just perplexed by what you said about Vin Diesel before made sense. Like, that's very valid reasons for not liking Dom. But then to be like, oh, but I like Johnny Tran. What? He just had, he
Complex
literally went
person,
after,
you have complex opinions.
apparently, he went after these guys. Yeah, he was narked or whatever, and he went after them with a freaking machine gun, and then took out all these cars along the way. Like, but at the very least, they're in the same category to me.
FBI, it was an FBI raid on his family's place. He
And
had
he killed a guy.
He did kill a guy, and you know what?
Steven,
Tom sent a guy from.
But I respect Steven's opinion to pick the villain as his favorite character. I don't agree with him, but I do have to respect.
Of course you do.
Sometimes the villain really needs to be your hero. You need a hero.
Says the Kaji sympathizer.
Yeah,
so.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much credit that gives you, Steven, but I will respect your opinion.
No, Johnny Tran blew up a 10-second car before there was any wrongdoing done to him. If you want to say that he was justified after the FBI raid, I can ride that horse with you. But
he literally tortured a guy, Steven.
Yeah.
Like,
that was before the FBI raid.
That was about engines.
That's what I'm saying.
And about race wars.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's what I'm saying. Everything that Johnny Tran did makes sense in a way.
As long as there's a reason.
Yes, actually. If there's a reason, I can at least understand where you're coming from. You're not some idiot just doing things randomly that getting people in trouble. Instead, what you are is you're defending your territory. You're blowing up the car of this one guy who's screwed your sister and went off on a bad deal with you. You're supposed to go in his territory. You're figuring out where this guy who stole your engines, where his engines are. You are, after your entire family was raided, you're going and you're doing, you're basically a drive-by, but you are going and getting revenge against the people who you very strongly believe did it. So his intentions make sense to me.
All right, Steven's gone down the villain arc for this season.
Goddamn right.
My answers.
Keep hearing Jurassic Park in the back of my head with Gary defending Steven. The only one I've got on my side is the blood-sucking lawyer.
All right, Hammond.
My favorite character would probably be Paul Walker's character of Brian there. I just kind of like the story that he runs through there and the kind of growth he has at the end there. And then least favorite character, I mean, Vince is kind of an asshole. Johnny Tran is the bad guy. I mean, the FBI bosses and stuff like that do what the FBI bosses do in typical movies. So I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, it's just the typical villains that I'm just not supporting there again. All right. So before we get to the end of just kind of a wrap up of what everyone thought of the movie here, I don't think I put this anywhere. So to give background on this, way back when Facebook had a notes app, I used to do small movie reviews and everything like that. And it took me a little while to find these again, so I dumped them all over to a different website. So I'm going to read off, I'm going to cut out a certain couple of sections on here, what my review for watching when I rewatched The Fast and the Furious back in 2015. So and the way I always wrote these reviews is very short and nothing really too long, but this ends up being apparently the longest one I wrote for this series for whatever reason. So I rated it 4 out of 5 stars to start off with. Until more movies come available to watch, I've decided I'm going to revisit the Fast and Furious franchise. Ever since seeing the 7th one in theaters recently, it's been on my mind. If you haven't seen that one yet, you seriously need to go to your local theater to watch it. Well worth it in my humble opinion. This franchise has come a long way since the first movie. Seriously, look at what they were stealing in that movie. This can make you feel old. It's still a great movie to go back and watch again from time to time. See the beginning where the group of street racers turned into the family. The groundwork for them being a family started here. A line towards the end from one of the other agents says something to Brian about family. Who blank. I'm going to cut this part out here because it kind of spoils the... Basically, like the line ends of like who grows from being street racers to blank. And I'm going to cut that, like I said, part out because it discusses the later movies. And I end with, and you just got to love that Charger. My movie reviews were terrible. And then for the audience's treat, Gary recorded about 1:30 of his vague memories of what the first one was. And I'm going to put that somewhere in the podcast here just so everyone else gets to listen to that.
That would help us.
So, to then wrap it up here, what did everyone think of the movie? A lot of us rewatching it, and Steve and Amanda watching it for the first time there. JC, you look like you want to start off.
Yeah. So Steven multiple times has mentioned that like, oh, what is this, some sort of B movie? Like, yeah, I honestly, like, as soon as it started, I was like, oh yeah, this is an old movie, well before they kind of had a singular direction for the whole series. Like this was just designed to be a one-off thing to cash in on the car racing culture, cartooner culture of the 2000s and be done with it. And then turned into this whole thing. So like I approached it with a B movie mindset, and y'all were all talking even about like, oh yeah, I checked out the freeze frames on the DVDs and all this stuff. Like I took it as a B movie, so I just let that thing play, and I didn't take hardly any notes on this movie this time around. It was just like I took it at face value. But yeah, it's a fun enough little romp. You know, it definitely has its plot inconsistencies. As someone who has been an aficionado of terrible B movies intentionally, it's fine. Yeah, it does not meet terrible quality to have its amusements from those points. I think it does a decent job of establishing the characters as we'll know them for the next couple of movies at least. Yeah. One thing I at least did not catch the first time, multiple times I'd rewatched it. This was the first time I actually saw the end credit scene. Did not even know that this had it. Took me back to think like, I first started really paying attention to end credit scenes with the Marvel movies. And I looked it up, like those are 2008. This is 2001, and there's an end credit scene where you get to see Dom driving his little Charger around, a vehicle around Mexico.
There is? I did
Yeah.
not know that.
There you go.
I missed that.
Well, there you go.
It's not much. It's literally just him
Yeah.
driving, and like there's no conversation, there's no reveals. It's just him continuing to drive.
Yep, he's got
But
some
yeah, I
sort
was
of, I think it's a
surprised
red
too.
car. Yeah, red car in like Baja, Mexico. So he made it to that beach in Mexico. We don't know see anybody else, I don't think. Yeah, if I had to put a rating on it, yeah, 3 out of 5, I guess. Like if it showed up on TV again on syndication, I might put it on and leave it on, but I'm not probably going to be seeking it out. If I had to rewatch any of them again, it probably wouldn't be this one.
Gotcha. Nick, go ahead with yours.
I'm very similar to JC. I think, on the pantheon of great cinema and film, the best actors and the best script, this is not your movie, right? But for that little cult following for folks who have seen it and just kind of enjoy it for what it is, I think it's pretty good. I would be in the same boat, probably a 3 out of 5 or even a 4 out of 5 if you're just kind of taking it for what it is. I mentioned earlier in the notes too that Dom had that little dream about having Letty out in Baja and Mexico, and that's what it tied back to. I hadn't realized. I've seen this movie 1,000 times. I had never seen the end credit either. I just let it play, and I was looking at my phone, random tidbits and facts, looking it up about the movie as it was playing in the background, and that little scene came on. I was like, "What the hell is this?" I've never seen this little clip before, but yeah, it's just like literally a minute of him just cruising, driving by himself in Mexico. So like he made it, or he got to where he wanted to be, at least for that portion of his story. Yeah, I think that the actors, I looked up a couple of them. This is one of their first couple movies. They hadn't been in very many. A couple of not really well-known faces, younger, right, in their careers. And so not the best actors, but as far as like, I'm just going to put together an action movie with a script, not a great script. And the premise is it's fast and the characters get angry. So what should we call this? Fast and Angry? That sounds stupid. We need another F word. Fast and Furious, right? It's just kind of like that's what they came up with, and this is what we get from it. It's like you said, a good romp. I think JC kind of hit it on the head there.
All right, now to hear from somebody who hasn't seen the movie before to this, Steven, you go ahead here.
Oh, I think I would have actually maybe come in. I may have reviewed this movie differently if I had basically kind of heard the general idea of like what JC and what Nick just said. I came into this movie knowing that this is a 10-movie franchise. I came into this movie knowing that millions of dollars have been spent on making these movies. I was expecting an A production. And so when I got in here and I am watching this B, C-rated movie that that's maybe where the disconnect is I was not for this time. And in all honesty, I will watch B, C, and D rated movies, but generally they're going to be horror movies because I want to have that fun horror thing. If I'm watching a B or a C rated movie that's like this type of thing, it's going to be drinking with friends. And that was not the atmosphere that I watched it. And I was watching, I'm like, okay, I'm going to really pay attention to everything here. I'm going to really, get in this thing like what you would be doing if I was watching Lord of the Rings or something like that. And that's how I was treating it. And so maybe that's where the disconnect really is for me, is that I had expectations of this movie that were vastly different than maybe what the movie was when it was actually produced and what everyone else knew the movie was, because it is such a long franchise and it is so maybe different now.
All right, Gary.
I definitely similar. I was very shocked by, like, I assumed this my mind this movie was like in the DVD age, but not the VHS tape age. But also I consider this movie to be a definite tie-in to a very definitive moment in culture, bro culture, which is that this movie came out in 2001. I had to go look up when a video game came out, and that was Need for Speed Underground, which came out in 2003. was the first game in that series to like feature vehicle customizations and like imports. The vehicle on the cover of that game is a Nissan Skyline. Like, so it's definitely like this movie kind of changed the way racing games looked. Like, it wasn't just let's drive like fancy cars. Like, people wanted to customize their cars a little bit in the games. So I consider it a cultural touch point in history. But yes, definitely a lot more B movie than I remember. But still, I'd give it like number 2, as I mentioned, holds a very special place in my heart. I'd put number 2 as a 3, because it's B movie schlock, but it's definitely better than this movie. So I'd put this movie at like a 2.
I just have to tell myself that Gary is wrong in everything he says there.
Gary's wrong about everything.
All right, Amanda, then to you.
I think you guys I thought you guys had slightly prepared me for it not being like the most amazing A movies. So I don't know if I made that up in my head or if Steven and I weren't on the same conversations. So I was prepared, but I also think I just assumed that it wasn't really going to be like, I was interested to see it, but I just assumed it wasn't really my style movie because it's not something I've really watched before. And sure enough, we watched the first half and I was like making fun of it every 2 seconds. And then watching the end part, I was like, I actually really did enjoy the movie. Yeah, it's not like there are definite plot holes. It's definitely showing its age. But genuinely, when I finished the movie, I wanted to watch the next one right away. I was excited to see the next one. On the other hand, you guys have dropped some mentions that I might be disappointed by that. But we'll find out.
It's Gary's favorite.
It's interesting because it sounds like Steven and Amanda like flip-flopped. Like, Steven seemed kind of okay with the first half and hated the second half of the movie. Amanda was like kind of about the first half and liked the second half of the movie.
Friends become enemies. That's accurate. Become friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So whether or not we get to watch the next movie together, then who knows?
Bah.
Okay. And my opinion still holds true kind of to that 4 out of 5 star review there that I wrote there. My thoughts really haven't changed on it very much. I mean, rewatching it now, it's been a few years for sure since I last saw this movie. And like definitely some stuff stood out to me of like, yeah, this movie's kind of starting to show its age a little bit more. Like we touched on some of the language that was dropped in there, like, whoo, that's not something that should be in a movie. But this is also, to me, just the story and everything like that is just typical of these types of movies. You know, guy goes in with the crew, ends up becoming friends with everybody. Some of that, like undercover cop, all that stuff. It just kind of it hit on a lot of the points of a lot of the movies that I remember from about these time periods and everything. So, anything else to kind of touch on here?
I think Gary had a. Sorry, go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I had a bonus thing that I caught on this rewatch, and that was that all of the cars are numbered. Didn't catch that before. Brian has a number 5 on his vehicle. Vince has a number 2. Maya has an 11. Letty has a number 9. Jesse has a number 4. Dom has a number 3, and Leon is a number 7. All of their main characters' vehicles are numbered, except for Brian's second vehicle. I could not find a number anywhere.
Number 1.
Does that correlate to anything?
That's what I was going to ask. Does that matter?
I don't know, but I just didn't know if they were like, hey, we're going to have you in a movie. Like, what's your favorite number? Like, I just... And I also I was wondering if maybe it was like you have to pull in all these fancy like vehicles. Like, do you have to number them for like special effects stunt purposes of like this person drives this car and it's this number? Like we crashed it. We need to have a couple backups of this car and this body type.
I'm
Just
sure.
said it was a $30,000 movie. Like. I don't think they crashed any of the other than I don't even know if they crashed Brian's vehicle. Oh, they blew up Brian's car, but like other than that, I don't think any of the other cars got into any car crashes.
Dom's car.
Well, Dom's Charger there.
Dom's Charger didn't have a number on it, but anyway, that was just something random I noticed. I thought it was interesting.
Okay.
I was gonna say in the kind of the text channel ahead of time, Gary had mentioned a question about like for the folks new to the series, who are you looking forward to returning in the next film? Just as a sort of a prediction, so we kind of set a baseline. Thought that'd be a fun one.
Johnny Tram.
Johnny Tram?
No. I assume Johnny Tram is dead. And I think I've having the only one that I've ever seen was Tokyo Drift. I feel like he makes an appearance in Tokyo Drift, I want to say, but I don't remember that for sure. But what I am going to say is probably I am interested to see what they do with Vin Diesel's character. What I know it's supposed to change, so I want to know when this is happening. Like it's interesting, I guess, in that sort.
Any of the gang, any of the police people, the family members, like who do you think is gonna reappear?
Mia, because Mia, I know the two girls are gonna reappear because I know. I don't know if anyone else besides Paul Walker and Vin Diesel will reappear.
And I've heard that, I don't know, I don't want to drop spoilers, but I feel like I've heard that Vin Diesel isn't in like the next one or something, and I was like, what?
Okay, well there goes my thing.
So that, considering how much that annoyed me, because now I want to know what the next movie is, I was like, if that's a real thing and you guys are not rushing to assure me that it's not, then that kind of annoys me, and I want to see what happens when he comes back. Yep, we'll see.
Fair enough.
Do you have something there, Nick, you wanted to bring up real quickly, or?
I was just gonna say I'm interested to see what happens with some of these main characters too. Like, I'm totally blown away the fact that we see a little bit of end credit with Dom is in Mexico. So I was gonna say I'm curious to see in the next couple movies what happens with him. Brian, like we said, has kind of turned his back on what his job role was. Like, what happens to him now? So I'm interested to see what happens with him. I remember the general arc and storyline of these next couple movies, but I don't remember all the details on them, so it'll be interesting to go back and rewatch them.
And I will say there's I'm looking up like the actual watch order and stuff like that. They've got there's two like short films and stuff like that kind of came out at some point in time.
There's a short film before 2, isn't there?
Yeah. There's definitely one before 2, and I'm trying to remember where everything was, and I can share that with everyone, but maybe I'm probably not going to until the end here. But you don't have to watch those short films. They're not really required unless you really want to.
Short films like featurettes or like actual spin-off type
I
things?
think they're pretty much like get hyped movies that probably get hyped little snippets that got maybe would be on whatever the YouTube was of 2001.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Get people excited for going to the sequel to Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah.
It's literally titled Turbocharged Prelude to Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, that's
all right.
That would be the next one to watch.
I'm pretty sure both of those are. I think it's on the Blu-ray copy for the first movie. They were like, "Here's a preview of the next movie."
Yeah, I would say nobody needs to watch those really unless you really want to seek those out and everything like that. But
Interesting.
All right. Anything else we need to cover here, or are we good to kind of wrap up the podcast?
I think we're good. I'm just excited for Too Fast, Too Furious.
And I am not. But anyways. All right.
Can I ask this maybe real quick?
Sure.
What grade movie should I be expecting for Too Fast, Too Furious? Am I expecting a C-rated?
Oof, I think we've got
no
some
better than this movie. Just go into it assuming no better than this movie. It's just a much more comedic movie.
Comedic, all right. Amanda, we're going to need some alcohol.
More
Corona.
lighthearted. A little more lighthearted.
Lots of Corona.
Anything you want, as long as it's Corona.
Yes.
Okay, so as we've alluded to...
No, don't go in for this is the Emmy award-winning second. It was slightly better than the straight-to-video sequel, but it's...
There is no straight to
Gary said this was his favorite. So there's your barometer, right? Gary said this was his favorite.
It's going to be the worst.
Yes.
And also, Gary, there was no straight-to-video sequel. 3 did end up in the theaters.
I was trying to figure out trying to explain what quality. I guess you could go look at the budget compared to 1 to 2 to 3. We can talk about that next time.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. All right, so as we've alluded to, just for everyone listening knows, we are watching Too Fast, Too Furious. Next time.
Gary is psyched. You should see him. It's disgusting.
It's disgusting seeing Gary this happy.
Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, we hope you have a good one.
Bye.
See ya.
So this is the story of the FBI secret agent Brian. He goes undercover as a cashier at a street racing auto parts store. He falls in love with Dom's sister, Maya, because he loves her ham sandwiches at the diner. The FBI is trying to track down a heist gang, and Brian thinks the world of undercover street racing is the key. He shows up at the underground street race, bets his car, loses it all by an inch. He saves Dom's life from the police and has his car blown up in the process by a rival street gang. On the walk home, he becomes best friends with Dom. Brian joins the gang. He starts rebuilding his car. He starts scouting street racing competition. Brian finds electronics in the garage of Johnny Tran and wrongly accuses him of leading the highway heists. The gang enters street wars. The scrawny kid bets his car, loses it all, and runs away. Half of the team chases him. The other half goes on the heist. Brian is forced to tell Maya that he is a cop. They race off to save their friends from their doomed heist. Brian was able to save them, calls a medevac, and in the process reveals that he is a cop to Dom. They meet back up at the house. The scrawny kid is hit in a drive-by shooting. That leads to Brian and Dom racing down the street against a train. Dom crashes, but Brian gives Dom his car so he can drive off into the sunset. The end.